Okay, it's fine. I think some AC cut on. Cesar, I'm glancing over there. I gotta know because I googled them today to see if anybody else was still using them. Your Pulse Elites from the PS3 days. Are your ear cups like disintegrating or anything? Do you have any degradation issues?
No, I mean they died, and then I bought replacements on Amazon for like $5, and
Replacement ear cups?
and the top band too. I replaced everything.
Oh, send me that link when you're free because I googled those to show somebody. We were talking about the neighborhood. You remember?
Which ones?
What's that?
What you talking about? Which the Pulse
The
Elite?
Pulse
There's so
Elites,
many.
the ones that thump like crazy, like the head shakers.
Oh no, I replaced these.
For the what they call that platinum headset. Okay.
The other one I have is in the closet, but I don't. I don't think. I think that one's fine.
Okay.
I don't use it that often, so.
We were talking about the neighborhood. You remember that first? You might have turned me on to them. Remember that first neighborhood CD with sweater
Yes.
weather and all that stuff? Brand, are you familiar with the neighborhood?
I saw them live. It was
Oh
wonderful.
God, I bet that was amazing. Yeah.
I still remember that show to this day because I think I went there, and some dude had brought a girl there that I guess they were friends at the time. And he kept getting separated from him. I'm like, dude, just get in there. Like me and my coworker were there. Was like, get in there, dude. What the fuck are you doing? Get in there. They kept like, he wanted to get close, and he just kept like, oh, they keep pushing me away. I was like, dude, get in there. What the fuck's wrong with you?
Like the crowd was shifting back and forth, and he was afraid.
Yeah, but he was just getting pushed back. I was like, no, get in there, buddy.
Go claim.
Like, you don't need to ask anybody for shit. Get in
Dance
there
with
and
who
take
brought you.
it. Yeah. I still remember that because the dude was funny. I was like, no, get in there, buddy.
Yeah, it was actually a friend of the show, Jeremy. He sent me a playlist with it had sweater weather on it, and instantly I'm like, that's been 10 years. Instantly, I was in 2013. I was like, I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing when that album came out, and I listened to it with this pair of headphones. He's like, man, some memories are flooding back. I was like, I'm that way with music and like devices and accessories, and I don't know how else to explain it. That's why I have all the physical bullshit I have. It's like, okay, I was doing this, and I'm looking at those Pulse Elites. And when I Googled it after that, people were talking about the ear cups like disintegrating. And I've got like some small, like you can tell they're 10 years old, right? Or 12 or whatever, whenever those came out. Man, they were better than Beats at the time. They would literally shake your fucking head off. Have you heard those, Brant? You remember the PS3?
Yeah, I remember them.
I think I can reach them from here.
Had a pair.
Yeah, they got some Sony red ones that I have that are bass extra also. That's
Yeah.
So
So it's back in the day where like you had to have the little adapter thing for PS3 headsets and all. Fuck, they look worse than I thought they did. But these are the Pulse Elites. I think Cesar turned me on to these, and then I bought these from the store that another friend of the show, Jeremy, worked at the time, just to allude. But like the ear cups are, and you see it on there, and they've been nothing but taken care of. Like there's no other.
It's that material.
And I see it up here on this. Yeah, I've got some Sennheisers that did the same thing.
Rots.
But these would fucking thump. And that neighborhood record, it was full of those. I told Jeremy it would shake your brain. Oh. Remember that generation where we had like proprietary headsets, or like the 360 one you had to plug in the AV ports to route the Turtle Beaches to the headset? And then the next generation we just got the plug into the controllers. Like, man, this is gravy. We finally figured this thing out.
BYOB your headsets now.
Yeah. And use it for everything. You don't have to get like a 360 headset or a PS3 headset. You just bought a thing and it worked for all of them. You just plug them in.
I had the damn Mad Cats, the Tritons.
How were those?
The Triton AX Pros, I think. Is
Okay, I'm not going to dog them. Coming from retail, Mad Cats was synonymous for garbage, so I don't know what you dealt with. Okay.
Yes. So technically, yeah, they were branded Triton, and then I later found out that it's the same company that did Mad Cats. And like,
wait, are they white and
no.
blue? I have a Triton set.
They are. This one was like silver and yellow, and they had like 4 speakers in each ear cup, to where you could get like basically 3D audio. You could get directional
before
audio.
3D audio was patented.
So for games like Call of Duty and stuff, I mean, you could hear like somebody coming up behind you, walking down the hallway, and you could tell exactly where they were coming from, how far they were, which direction they were coming from.
Yeah.
Those things are
You like
awesome.
those?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Back in the day. All right, you guys ready to rock?
Yep.
Now that's
yes.
8:20. Warzone after this, Brant? Did you take something to Warzone on? No, Brant,
I
no.
can't.
I saw it in his face.
I've got Steam Deck, but I haven't set up Warzone.
Remote play to Warzone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 262 of the NOFODcast. We are No Outside Food or Drink, the Southeast premier video game podcast. Tonight's news. Microsoft is raising prices. On what, pray tell? EA is restructuring. Are they separating the E and the A? Taking a joke from Cesar earlier in the week. E/A, it's in the game. No physical release? Question mark. What could that be? I think that's been clarified since then. Maybe. I don't know. What is that going to be on a disc anyways? What does that even mean these days? We have your Nintendo Direct from this past week. And depending on time, this was today's news. We have a brief bit about Oculus Quest Plus, which Cesar told me you combine with Hulu Plus and Disney Plus. Is that accurate? I've been given false information.
PlayStation
Plus.
I'm not in the Oculus ecosystem.
That's true.
anymore,
Cesar's like, I don't know this
wouldn't
news.
Yeah. It never. My Oculus never left the box and then left my hands, and I was $300 richer.
You won.
Well,
You won on the deal.
Meta still doesn't know who Cesar is. They're like, who? That person doesn't exist.
As Richard tries to convince me, like, oh, they don't need Facebook anymore, and Facebook continues to say I'm not a real person, and so I'm like, you know what,
It's fair. They deny him. I'm in that same boat. I respect that.
I sent my driver's license and like, no, sir, we don't believe you. I'm like, all right, cool. I will not use your products. So.
But you also, and Cesar was doing that to try to get our podcast on Facebook. We decided that was not an avenue we needed to explore at that point.
Yeah, sure.
And you'll notice I refuse to call it Meta. I still refer to it as the Oculus Quest. That's a way better name. You cannot convince me otherwise. It's like reverting from PlayStation, which was awesome from the start, to something stupid. Like Super Nintendo Disk System. Oh, Renee's here. Joining me as Newsmaster, Brant McKee. Brant, you're joining us from a different location.
Yes.
A blurred location.
A blurred location. How are the acoustics in there? Mic test, mic test, mic test.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
There's someone behind you. I don't know if you've noticed this, but...
That or some kind of weird latex.
The shadowy figure.
To your left shoulder is a latex weird sex machine. I see it.
Oh, Cesar, that's his exercise ball. Please,
It's just a bed.
please disregard.
Okay.
It's just the bed.
It is bizarre. What the fuck is that? No,
It's a microphone.
It is
in
an
front of the bed.
exercise
Yeah,
ball.
yeah,
It's a
that's what it is.
microphone.
It just looks like some weird sex machine thing.
Oh, no podcast where you have 5 years of recording in close proximity of sex machines, various sex machines of various sizes. Now it's not blurred. What happened?
And then it went
moved in
back
there,
blurred.
yeah.
There you go. I can.
I
move
mean,
it.
I used to give Richard a hard time about his sex machine, and he finally sold it.
We
so.
did sell it. We got money from that thing. I actually
Yeah.
think like your Oculus Quest. I think we made money on that transaction.
Used sex machine. I'm sure
We
you did.
bought it.
We made money on that.
We never
thing.
used it. Yeah, used sex machine. We bought it. We never used it. We hung clothes on it like every other piece of exercise equipment, which is what we're referencing.
I mean, what was it for? Was it just doing like sit-ups or something
was-
like that? I forgot what you used
It
it
was
for.
some sort of bootleg Bowflex. It was like a Flowflex
Oh,
or
okay,
whatever.
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't
All right.
quite. It never worked. I was like, sure, I'll go. This is the missus sent me after this, right? So I was like, sure, I'll go pick it up, and it's a great deal. That's fine. She never used it. It never worked right. I don't know. You told me to go get it. I'm not responsible for that. Brent, your microphone looks like either the torture device that Princess Leia was subjected to in A New Hope, or also from A New Hope, the training thing for the lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
The thing that like the practical effect of that training droid. I'm sure the Star Wars people are yelling at me on in the chat. All 7 of them. Hey, welcome to the show. we hope to not disappoint this time.
Too late.
If we do join in next week, we'll try it again. Also joining us, Cesar Concepcion II, Lore Master and Page Master.
Oh,
Cesar, ¿cómo estás?
Genki.
Please describe in one sentence your weirdest sex machine.
The weird giraffe-looking thing that was.
Yeah.
You did have one. We've all had one. Yes.
My exercise bike that was blurred out that looks like some kind of.
It was. It was something you could mount, right? It was a.
For exercise, yeah.
Nah,
Which I guess works both ways.
Yeah. Did your heart rate increase when you mounted the thing? Cesar did it.
Yeah, it's where we're heart transfer.
You can't handle the truth.
He's oh god, Randall's here, and then Buish is here.
Yes.
It's chaos.
Everyone, thanks for joining us. We're discussing weird sex machines. All the people we love. With all the people we love.
Our favorite segment of the show. Yeah. Our favorite segment of the show. Weird sex machines.
We always start with this.
Why is it not a Jeopardy category? I would watch that Jeopardy.
Yeah. Someone said it was a video game show. What did I show up for?
It's like weird sex machines for 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. I always go for.
Do we have? How many's in a category? 69. Is it 5? Do we have 5 to fill up the whole category?
Maybe.
Are the weird sex machines not the potent potables? Are they not the most potent of the potables?
I don't know.
Everyone's grimacing.
That's for the contestants to figure out.
The victims. Randall's here. Everyone is here. I'm not getting chat from some channel, I guess, because we got 7 people, but it's just Twitch stuff coming through. All right.
It has to be everybody. If you're talking to Renee, Renee's on YouTube. So.
Yeah, everybody's here. The gang's all here. Let's dive into the news. Microsoft is raising prices on what? Word? Am I paying more for Microsoft Word? No, what is it? I got my articles backwards. This comes... Go ahead, Brent.
Series X.
What is that?
And Game Pass.
Sounds like a weird sex machine.
I was going to say it's their weird sex machine.
The Series X. The sex.
The sex box. This comes from Tom Ivan via BBC.
Thank you, Tom.
This just goes over the fact that they are raising prices over the series on the Series X, excluding a few markets. Prices of the consoles will be raised in August on most countries, excluding U.S., Japan, Chile, Brazil,
Colombia.
While Game Pass prices will increase in July in most markets, excluding Norway, Chile, Denmark, and Switzerland, and Saudi Arabia.
So the console is not increasing here, but Game Pass will increase here.
Yes.
What's it going up to?
The series consoles kind of fluctuate.
They do vary by region, right?
Yeah, so in UK it's about $479.99, and then across most of the European markets, it's going up to $649.99, and in Canada, $799.99.
So hear me out. We start exporting consoles to Canada.
And in Australia.
And Australia?
Yeah.
I think we can smuggle some to Canada, like Smokey and the Bandit. We're the Smokey and the Bandit of Xboxes.
They're not changing the prices of the Series S. So Renee, your resale on the Series S is
he's
still
not getting rid of that thing.
Don't set it on fire, Renee.
He was supporting JRPG a couple weeks ago, right?
Who knows?
He was like, I'm gonna show him. I'll show him on Xbox.
Renee proceeds to pre-order Final Fantasy Collector's Edition and then sends me to go pick it up for him as my copy's mailed to me. And I'm like, I had to leave the house to pick up somebody else's copy of Final Fantasy 16, which pissed me off immensely. Because as
why am I
came
here?
to the door, I had to go leave the house to go pick his up. So I was like, what the fuck,
But
man?
Cesar, there was like 100 gig install, so at least gave you time. Put the disc in, and then you have something to do for the rest of the evening.
I literally picked my copy up from the doorstep to go pick his copy up. Or drive to go pick his up. That's the worst thing. Mine was like right there. I was like, fuck, man.
Renee, I know you're in the chat. You gonna let him talk trash like this? It's a true cousin. I respect the pickup. I would have done that for anybody.
Where in July 6th, the monthly prices of Game Passes subscriptions is going to go up by, it looks like, at least $1, or one equivalent dollar in every market. So like $10.99 from $9.99 here in the U.S.
It's not horrible. Renee thanks you in the chat, Cesar, and Jeremy points out we stopped talking about sex machines. That's why we lost viewers. Back into the hot tub, Brant. Back in you go.
Back into the hot tub. Whereas Game Pass Ultimate prices will increase here in the U.S. from $14.99 to $16.99. So it looks like also about $2 per equivalent market.
Which, I'm going to throw this out there. If you look around, you're not paying that full amount, right? Like, nobody's just blanket paying that full amount. Okay. If you look around, you can find way better deals than that, right?
And they do note that Game Pass for PC is not changing at all.
Yeah, I'm still trying to grow that market. So.
They haven't made a lot of
PC.
big moves with PC Game Pass recently, right? I know Valheim was like a big get for the early access build of that, but has there been anything momentous to come to PC Game Pass day one?
I mean, everything that's on the console is on PC Game Pass. So like stuff that you normally, like Rune Factory and all that's on there. So it's like it's almost one for one. So it's before PC didn't used to have like this many type of games, even though there was always the whole thing about the PC Master Race. But now all these games play well now too. So it's like.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They finally cleaned up because it's like I was telling Renee the other day. I fired up and I think you have a copy. It says it in Steam. You know that old Mortal Kombat that came out on PS3 and 360. I think that's the one where the reboot.
The reboot Mortal Kombat, like Mortal Kombat 9, I think is what it's loosely referenced as.
Right before we went on there. Like if you play that one on Steam, you get a chance to fire it up. It is butthole. It is straight butthole. Like it looks like shit. Like if you watch the FMVs and everything, it's pixelated as fuck. The sound is bad. It's like how far they've come along on PC, and why the console was big at the time because you never had those quality issues. But how far they come along on PC ports recently, the last 5 or 6 years
that's a great point. And they wanted that parity like back with Halo 2. They got a Windows Vista build of Halo 2. They wanted that parity forever. Just to date ourselves a little bit, that Mortal Kombat 9 that you speak of, I bought that from Kmart. Yeah. Back when they did the coupon stuff, it was like. Buy Mortal Kombat, roll this over. It was like $15. I just roll it over to something else. That was a great reboot, though.
It was good, man. I mean, I was just... That's like the easiest way for us to play it now. It's like, unless you hook up a PS3 and 360, since it's not backwards compatible. I was like, let me fire it up on Steam, dude. It's garbage, dude. I mean, it plays fine, but it's just like the videos and stuff like that is bad. It's like pixelated, and it's like...
Somebody specifically did the PC port of that one, right? Wasn't that like an Asper joint or somebody?
Like High Voltage software.
High Voltage did it?
When I booted up.
What is that Wii game? The Conduit people? That's actually sounds right now that I've said that. Is the fucking Conduit people.
Because I remember when I fired it up, I was like, who did this? It was like High Voltage. Yeah. It wasn't done internally by, I think it was still Warner Brothers at the time when they purchased Mortal Kombat. But yeah, I think, believe it or not, I have the Vita version right here on hand for whatever reason. So yeah, it is Warner
Brothers. Which plays better, I believe. But, I mean, High Voltage pretty good. At a time is in that same boat as like Asper and Gearbox, where they specialized in PC ports of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we're not going to do this. If you want this on this platform, we got to do somebody else. And it was High Voltage for some of those.
Yeah, it just goes how long, how long that PC ports are. I mean, that and, the Japanese market kind of missed all this stuff. And now you almost got like every major Japanese release on there now. Yeah. So it's like, PC market's come around a while. I think now it's just Xbox is trying to grow and get that Game Pass ecosystem to grow up on there. But to answer your question, like everything that they announce on that coming to Game Pass comes to Game Pass PC. You may get an odd 1 or 2 here that are PC exclusive. Like I think Quake Champions from Bethesda is PC exclusive because it's designed for keyboard and mouse. I don't think they have it on the controller.
Or like Gears. Every time I go to look at Gears, man, I would love to play this on my Steam Deck. Like I might start. Friend of the show, Jeremy, and I are talking about maybe doing a stream of that Gears of War Ultimate Edition. But it's you and I beat it in one sitting. We loved it. We couldn't put it down. But it's like, why is that Gears catalog not on PC? This is your big push. What is just Gears 4 and 5? Maybe just 5.
I think you're right. I don't think there's. To answer your question, I don't think there's any of that backwards compatibility on there yet. That's the only.
This is an amazing.
So anything that's backwards compatible. backwards compatible is not on there. You're right.
This is a huge part of your legacy. Like, you're known as the Forza, Gears, Halo company. How is this not part of that catalog that you can enjoy?
Yeah, I don't see any of the 360 stuff. So to answer your question, yes, you're correct. Anything that's backwards compatible is not on there, but everything else seems to be that is native to Xbox One and higher. So
you're just saying don't get high voltage to do the PC port of the Gear stuff.
You know, I don't know what to expect. I just when I looked, I was like, man, this did come out like, was it 2009? No, it was no before.
I want to say 2011, just specifically like where I was in life.
2012.
For the Vita one?
2012, 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be around that time.
Yeah, because that's around, I know that it was like Father's Day is when Ocarina of Time 3D came out in 2011, and Star Fox was right in that same window. It was like, that was the golden era of 3DS taking off. Like, it'd been butthole since before that, and then it just took off after that. With ports, with enhanced ports.
Mm-hmm.
Star Fox is good.
No more playing Resident Evil Mercenaries like we used to back
We
in the
did.
day.
I think Tales of Abyss 3D was right around that same era. Like, we got all these flood of games. Like, where have these been? We needed this at launch.
I mean, hopefully that fucking Namco show coming out July 1st, then we'll get a Tales of Abyss, man.
July 1st, and then we got the limited run show July 11th or 12th. I saw that announced
12.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 or 12.
Which, I'm hit and miss on their products and their marketing and how they kind of do things, but either way, it's going to come to other avenues.
Well, last year it was all the FMV stuff,
Yeah.
which was interesting to see.
Are we out of those? Are there any missing ones that have to be brought forward that we know of?
I mean, you've got to look at that 3DO catalog or that Sega CD catalog. I think most of those are out, man. So.
Said no one ever.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, they did, what was it? They did Plumbers, Don't Work
Plumbers Don't Work
Ties.
Ties.
Yeah. Which still has not released yet, even though they announced it.
And
last
then Meta announced the big remake of The Seventh Guest, so that's I think that was a huge FMV title that's getting a total remake. So I don't know how much maybe they piggyback on that announcement. And
so if you ever seen Wells Interactive, and they put their games on the Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation, there's a lot of FMV stuff that just did a resurgence recently, especially from that
Wells Interactive,
that company, Wells Interactive, like I think it's like the Late Shift, and they're very good. I think that's the only one I played was a Late Shift, and they're like 3 hours, and it's like a movie. You just play them out, you do your choices, and it goes out at night. And it's done very well. It's all Blu-ray quality video. It's 9 times out of 10 very acted very well. It's not like the bad acting they had in those Sega CD days. But like Wells Interactive, I think they have a bundle on Steam as well. That's probably your cheapest one on there. But like the Bunker, a lot of those, the Bunker's really good too. Like there's some quality FMV stuff coming out now that people have been sleeping on.
Yeah.
I think Limited Run has done physical copies of all those as well. So I think that's why they just kept with that niche. But like there's a couple from Wells Interactive that are very good, like the Bunker, and I think I want to say the Night Shift is a good one too. I remember playing the hell of that one. I think Wario always tweets it. It's always that guy and girl kissing, and it's like the little prompt down there, like kiss her or don't kiss her.
Yeah.
And whenever it's on sale, it's like the same one he always does. So that one's a very good one too. But they got a whole bunch of them, like Devious something. I mean, there's at least 10 or 12 of them now. So that's come out within the last 3 or 4 years.
So the way my broken brain works, do they restore like let's say it's like a VHS to Blu-ray update, right? Do they take that source FMV stuff, like the stuff they recorded? Is that what ends up being in? Like, friend of the show Derek is a big Sewer Shark fan. Sewer Shark's one of them, right? Are we waiting for Sewer Shark? Yeah. Which is a Sony.
Sega property?
Sony owns that.
Okay.
He loves Sewer Shark and he loves Night Trap. So he ended up getting periodically that Night Trap for Switch will be like $3 on the eShop.
Yeah.
And he jumped on one of those. Like, he knows the way around. He knows the button prompts for Sewer Shark, because that's all you ended up learning, right? It's almost like Dragon's Lair. You just learn what button prompts you have to do to get through it. And
I mean, how many times you played the fuck out of that to know that, though?
he did.
I can't say shit because I don't think I've ever played Night Trap, so I never had a Sega CD in its prime.
What's the one? Yeah, he did. We didn't. What's the?
I'd say
Yeah.
you've got the Genesis Mini too. It's on there,
Yeah.
and Sewer Shark is
Yeah.
on there. So
What's the Corey Haim?
But I immediately fired up Lunar, so you're talking to the wrong guy.
What's the Corey Haim Sega CD game where you have to like move around the hotel and stuff? I'm googling it real fast. Double Switch. He's also a big fan of Double Switch, which also got one of those
Switch is also out
re-releases.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all on Steam. You can always relive your dreams on Steam, man.
So Sewer Shark is the big missing one?
Yeah, I'm assuming if Sony owns it, I sure. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Sewer
with that.
Shark? Give us Sewer Shark? I bet we see that in the next couple weeks.
Unless, I mean, you never know, man. Like Limited Run they bought that Numbers Don't Wear Ties IP so they can re-release it. And
Yeah, but they talk about that at every show they do. Like, no one is, it's not the shock value that they thought it was before.
so the other, I'm looking at Screaming Villains who've done all those re-releases from those
Screaming
days. So,
Villains?
Screaming Villains. So you have Night Trap, Double Switch, Ground Zero Texas, Corpse Killer, and Kids on Sight.
And what?
Kids on Sight.
I asked the chat, what's your favorite FMV game? I have no responses. I killed the chat.
It's Chaz leaving, man. Nobody's talking about FMV in this
Or
economy.
sex machines.
Yeah, in this economy, no, nobody can afford that.
Oh boy, someone tell me about Electronic Arts restructuring via Tom Ivan.
Into the E and the A.
Into the E and A. They're splitting.
No, I sent that video to you, Richard. We know what
It was golden. What exactly is this? Electronic Arts has announced it's restructuring its studios into 2 organizations. This again comes from Tom Ivan. He's been lucrative. Prolific as of recent. The former, which houses the publisher's owned IP and licensed games, will be headed up by Laura Miele, who has been appointed president of EA Entertainment Technology and Central Development. Respawn co-founder Vince Zampella will lead the EA studios responsible for Apex Legends, its Star Wars, and Battlefield games. That's accurate. That sounds right. He's had his hands in Apex. He's had his hands in Titanfall. He's had his hands in the Star Wars games.
Yeah, singly killed Titanfall.
And the Battlefield games. Yes, we did not bring that up in news a couple weeks ago. They pulled the plug on Titanfall 3 to make Apex Legends. That was confirmed, unconfirmed. Like, that was not public knowledge. Here's a person that'll run the lifestyle franchises and blockbuster single-player games. Here's someone who will run the mobile games business. EA Sports will continue to be headed up by this person, who's been appointed president of an organization responsible for the company's sports and racing games. Yeah. EA CEO Andrew Wilson announced the restructuring plans in a message shared with the company's employees on Tuesday. Here's a quote about growth. Here's a quote about faster development and value of people. And that's about it. EA announced in March that it planned to cut 6% of its workforce as part of a restructuring plan that would result in the company incurring up to $200 million of charges. Less than, we think that, what was the group last week? Embracer Group? Less than what we think that impact will be, but still 6% is not good. These consist of approximately $65 million to $75 million in charges related to IP impairment. What does that mean? Approximately $55 million to $65 million related to employee severance and employee-related cost, and $45 to $55 million associated with office space reductions. If someone moves me to the basement, I'm going to burn this place down. They take my stapler and move me again to payroll. And approximately $5 million to $10 million of other charges, including contract cancellations. It sounds like cleaning house amongst all these fees and costs.
Just want you to know that Office Space and Shawshank Redemption almost had the same ending.
Where Milton crawls through the sewer and comes out at the end of it and meets...
where they both go on
a beach,
a beach in the middle of nowhere.
Was it Milton and Ron Livingston's character?
No, it was just Milton. Remember, he was on the beach in Mexico, and I think was it Shawshank Redemption? It was like Morgan Freeman found the money, but I think what's his face was already on the beach somewhere in the middle of nowhere too. So
no, he had to drive to him. Morgan Freeman had the boat and all that, and Milton's on the beach with a Mai Tai, and he can't get the service attention. Excuse me, I would like another one, please.
I'll burn this place down.
Yeah, could I get another drink? If my service continues to be poor at this location, I will. Yeah. Milton, the silent assassin. I saw recently, I can't remember his name. That actor still has the red stapler.
You should.
Was it
Should be gifted.
Swinger? Is that the name of it? Swinger stapler? Streamline?
That seems right. Swinger seems
Swinger
like it,
stapler?
like that's that 50 style stapler.
Or Boston?
Right? Is that what it was? Yeah.
What's the brand of the stapler?
All right, we're diverging hard.
We're having a case of
I
the
got
Mondays.
Oh god, Brant brought it all the way back home. It's Swingline. It's a Swingline stapler. You can get it for $17 on Amazon.
Absolutely not.
Did someone move
no
my
way.
stapler? I'm on the payroll. My paycheck did not go
Oh,
through.
shit.
Okay, the Xbox Series X may have gone up in price, so that you may put your physical discs inside said device.
Mhm.
But, Susser, what Xbox Series X game are you most looking forward to? The only one that I know is upcoming.
The one that prepaid for PC.
Yes, also, we spoke about the PC parity. I may do the same. They say that thing is Steam Deck compatible, I'm plopping down money immediately.
I think it was Green Man Gaming or something like that. It was like $52 or something like that. I was like, I'm copping this now instead of $69.99.
Yes. Also a good value.
Who's to know how much of that data is on that disc anyways? But
You must
yeah, to answer your
mean...
question, Starfield. But to answer your question, I think something got out there where I think, what was it, like a questionnaire or somebody on Twitter or something? Like, I don't know, some information got out there.
They asked the support
I think,
account.
customer service.
Yeah, the Bethesda
Yeah.
support account.
That, about the physical, I mean, what was it? Here we go, blah, blah, blah. The physical standard edition Starfield for Series X includes a disc without the support account responding. Hello, all physical editions include a code for the chosen platform. There are no physical discs. Which they went back and deleted, and then they re-clarified and said that the standard editions include the disc. Just the collector's editions would include a code inbox, and then I think all PC versions would include a code inbox.
So a lot of games have done that. Like I did it with Cuphead back in the day. That was the only way you could get a physical deal on a. And again, these physical copies of discs are essentially for a retail specific purpose, right? Either a pre-order bonus or you want the thing to start off with. Brant is the famous example of buying the Halo Infinite coaster. Brant, not to point fingers, but like you wanted the thing, you try to support the thing, you probably had a good deal on the physical copy, so it got you what you were after.
And he got it early.
Steelbook.
The Steelbook,
Yeah, early.
exactly. So there's other things that they piggyback, almost like a phone. What's that term where they try to get you into the phone plan by subsidize? They subsidize the other stuff with you getting the physical copy, which I think is still important. But with a game like this and a buggy Bethesda thing, which they say it's not buggy.
The least buggy.
The
The
least
keyword is
least buggy. And if we brought it to PS5, it would have been delayed for weeks afterwards. Where was I going with that? I had a point with that. But that's kind of the key. Yeah, that's kind of the key of that whole thing. And people were like, they have a collector's edition. So the whole concern was, I'm buying this thing, getting the collector's edition. I want the watch. There's people that are buying into Starfield. And from what we've seen of it, it looks incredible. This looks like a good-ass video game that you would want those sort of editions to.
I think it's crazy that a lot of these collector's editions, like, just say for instance, in the past we had the God of War, Ragnarok stuff, and we're going to have the Spider-Man 2 stuff coming out, and a lot of the time, a lot of these editions, these up-priced editions, include a steelbook and this, that, and the other, and a bunch of cool stuff. But they always, at least this generation, include a code. So, I got a fancy steelbook and I got this and that, and I've got a spent code to put in the box.
Code in a box.
Put it on the shelf.
There's a bunch of Switch SKUs that are the exact same thing. Yeah.
Which we'll get to that when we get to that, because there's some of those.
Code in the box.
Coming up very soon.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big mess.
I'm ready for the specialty stuff where we get these prints of these games complete.
Yes.
I'll just pay out the ass for
Yep.
them. I'll be fine with that. Pay for something I really want complete on disc.
I thought
Kind of like records. How records are now, people buying certain albums on records that they really like. So
So back in the day, we would avoid, like, as a collector, you would not want the greatest hits or the platinum hits or whatever version of a disc, right?
NBA Ballers, correct? Yeah.
You definitely want that one for some ungodly reason. Unless it added something. Like, I feel like right after Fable came out, we got Fable Lost Chapters. And at that point, there was no reason to have that original copy of Fable on Xbox. You wanted Lost Chapters. It had bug fixes.
And also Silent Hill 2.
Silent Hill 2.
Greatest hits. The complete edition is very expensive out of all the Silent Hill 2.
It had bug fixes. It had patches. It had DLC. There was an advantage to doing that. And I think Cesar's onto something as far as releasing that whole broad SKU. Like, yes, that would be an amazing thing to have all of this DLC and everything on one copy, and you have bug fixes and stuff after that preliminary, essentially a PC copy from 2002, 2003, where you don't have patches, you don't have fixes, you don't have DLC, you don't have the bonuses that they added on there. It's funny to see how that tide has turned. That was the least desirable copy, but now it's like, no, we want a SKU that will eventually have all that sort of stuff on there. Like Forza. Who wouldn't want a new Forza Horizon disc that has the most recent build, all the stuff they've added to it, so that it's a complete glimpse of what that game is. Breath of the Wild got a copy of the cart with everything on it in Japan, like a limited run of those, and they're very expensive now, but it has the master, what they call that, Master Quest or something like that,
Trial of the Master
Sword. It had the bike on it, all that stuff. Yeah. It's on the cart.
They did the exact same thing with Splatoon 2, everything on cart with the
That's right.
the expansion pass. Very expensive.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think you're onto something as far as waiting for that type of Game of the Year edition or complete edition with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'll be waiting on Alan Wake 2 as well. So
that's another one that was mentioned. Mortal Kombat was one of them that was brought up. Remember they made the complete edition with a K that had it had Kratos on PS3. Was that a PS3 exclusive? That complete edition?
He has to be.
I think so too.
I don't see him on the Vita cover, but he might be in the Vita one.
I can't remember if he came with that port or not.
I know he was on the PS3 cover. Yeah.
But those are important, and I'm way more inclined to buy those. I mean, we've talked about this over the course of the podcast. All of us have all platforms. We have access to pretty much everything. We tend to buy a physical on PS5 and Switch more than anything. And either Game Pass or digital buy Xbox stuff and PC stuff. It's just the nature of what they release on those discs. Famously, here recently, Final Fantasy 16 is all on the disc. There's a 300 megabyte day one patch. That's like PS3 360 era patches for day one, right? So,
well, Xbox just doesn't make physical stuff anymore because they lost the console war. So,
is that in the news? Is that what we're segueing into?
No, but,
no, it's not. The whole bickering in the courtroom thing is. I'm still over it, but there are some juicy pieces coming out of that.
I mean, we're all over it, but now the actual interesting shit is coming out, not the stuff that we've just been alluding to in news bits.
Yeah.
My favorite was the one they just released earlier. Was like 30 minutes ago from Todd Howard. Remember, like they're asking Activision to do what I thought we were supposed to do from the beginning. It was release everything on all consoles, and now that how come they're not? It's like this is funny stuff that they're asking internally. Like, why are they? I thought we were going to do this, but we're being told to do otherwise.
And I'm
very confused.
The guys are, of course, talking about the FTC versus Xbox thing, in which Xbox is presenting the fact that they are way behind in the console wars, if they were to exist. They've always been third place since 2001, behind Nintendo and Sony. That this will not create a monopoly by buying these studios and all that. And all these internal emails are coming out. And fucking Matt Booty is a gunslinging executive. This dude is like, man, he's just a cowboy in the Xbox ecosystem.
Yeah. We'll buy Sony out of business. We'll just buy everybody.
Here's the advantage. We have more money to spend than anybody else. And it's true. Like, they never would have... Look at... The original Xbox lost $1 billion? Like, Sega couldn't make it with the Dreamcast. And they weren't that far behind. And that was a great platform. But they, like... they had an inlay in the entertainment industry. They had the groundwork for Xbox Live. They carried that over to the 360. Like, that story's been told, but they still have the money. They can gamble, whereas others just either don't or won't. I don't know why they didn't throw more money at Stadia. I guess it just wasn't what they thought it was going to be.
In that same email, they remember they're talking
Yeah.
shit about Google, and they're like, yeah, they won't have enough time to get up to
They're
our
so
level.
far away. And we're
They don't even have a first-party studio. What the
yeah.
fuck are
Didn't they
doing?
say about Amazon?
Matt Booty's funny as hell.
Yeah,
man.
it's a good read. He's a gunslinger. He's just talking shit, like what we would
Yeah.
talk about, not what we would email each other.
That's why I told Richard in the text,
Yeah.
like, this should have been a meeting, not an email. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what he's emailing people.
Dude, this is like we talk shit at lunch. Like, let's all go get lunch, or we're eating chips and
Yeah.
salsa. We're talking shit back and forth. Like, we can do it. They can't. We can do it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's why Matt Booty, he's on there. I mean, he's good now because that email came out with 2019 is
Yeah.
before the merger, so it doesn't pertain to anything today. And he could just sit there and be
Yeah.
like, ah, that's how we used to be. We've changed in the last 4 years. We don't do that anymore.
And it's fair because the strategy of Game Pass and the new console launches and the pandemic, like there's been a bunch of factors that have changed that outlook where maybe you're not the gunslinger, you're not talking shit as far as growing that portfolio and stuff goes. And so many of those studios they were talking about buying, we've talked about as rumors before, like Square Enix was on there and IO Interactive and all these other studios. Sega Sammy, that was a whole thing with Phil Spencer.
Sega was on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil Spencer's asking him like, "Hey, I'm ready to move forward with Sega Sammy. Why would we not? We have the money."
And I'm wondering if it's that fucking Sammy side. Because remember, Sammy owns Sega, and Sammy's like a amusement company, so they don't. Their video game stuff. I got a feeling that they probably didn't jump on it because they probably asked for more money than they're worth. Otherwise, I think they would have bought Sega long ago.
Well,
But that's just my personal thoughts on it. But
they also have, and correct me if I'm wrong, so Sega Sammy was like, I feel like that was like 2004, 2005-ish, and it was a big deal to merge the amusement entertainment divisions of those. So it wasn't just Sonic and Phantasy Star and that sort of thing that we know that we identify with Sega. It added on all that like amusement entertainment and those other IPs and that sort of thing. Like it was almost like Square Enix. We just think of like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, but it had all that other backtone to it and those other IP and such that came together with that. So you're not just...
Because I know Sammy used to be a publisher too. He used to do Galarians and all that on PlayStation. They used to make their own games. They haven't done it in years since they went over, but they went more the Konami route with pachinko machines and health machines.
But that's also part of it. Like you have to weigh that when you're buying this. You're not just padding Game Pass. Now all of a sudden you have all this coin op stuff and like you have these other type machines that you're not adding on to an Office 365 subscription or Game Pass subscription. Didn't Sammy have a fighting series? For some reason in my mind, they have a fighting series that they're famous for. Am I missing something?
I'm sure they have. I mean, they haven't released a game ever since the PS2. I think Galarians was one of the last ones they released. But they've had some other games in that in the PS1, early PS2 era. They released games before that merger. I wouldn't be surprised. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I don't think it's like you said. I don't. You know that little thread they had on there. Microsoft wanted Sega's PC business. They're reaching Asia.
Yeah.
It helped build some strengths on there, but I don't think they want Sammy. So I think part of that deal was like they probably wanted to buy the Sega operations and not take Sammy with them.
Yeah, and you can't.
Or if they had to, they have to sell off Sammy and see if they can make money off that. But whether you can do that or not, I got a feeling that I bet you Sammy was willing to sell Sega, but they probably asked him more than what they're actually worth. Because you're like, you get that blood in the water. Like, hey, we almost make $1 billion. I think what was it, 900 million a year or something like that? We were saying profit wise from like Sega that they have to sit there and like, all right, we got to factor this out if we get rid of them. So it was like, they're probably asking like whatever they believe their fair market share is to get out of that business, and you lose those IPs for your pachinko machines, so you got to go back and get those relicensed.
Guilty Gear is the fighting series I was thinking of. Which for a while
that's owned by Arc Systems now.
Yeah. Which for a while was a Sega or a Sammy thing. I feel like it has to be that one. That has to be what I'm thinking of.
That makes sense. Yeah, it was around that time.
Because that was a weird thing seeing that Sega Sammy logo. Like, who's this going to? Who's this? How can they buy Sega? Like, they just got out of making consoles and being one of the big producers of hardware and software and like the best experiences we can get in the industry. How are they a thing now?
But yeah, I mean, that's why they went ahead and just did ABK. So I mean, it makes sense for their mobile stuff. It makes sense for the catalog for Game Pass. It all make and they're gonna get it. They're gonna get ABK, man. There's nothing in there to argue outside of it.
they're
the only
not
thing that-
seeming.
out of that whole
They're
test-
not. The FTC's not really seeming to bring it home, right? And some of these court cases, they just
They don't
come
know
down
what-
to that, and they don't seem to be really convincing anybody of otherwise.
Well, everything they submitted for evidence is all previous to the merger announcement. You know, it's like 2019. It's like they can't use it as evidence. So it's like, yeah, they said this before, but you can make the argument like, oh, you know, that was just, at the time, that was a, you know, heated argument. You know, we don't do that anymore. It's 4 years from now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I think holds weight was that Todd Howard email, because I was right at the merger thing where, you know, he asked like, hey, I was under the impression that we were going to release everything on, you know,
Yeah.
all consoles, and even try to figure out ways to move stuff to Nintendo. Now I'm being asked to hold stuff back for Xbox. And so, and it wasn't like he was mad about it. He's just asking a question like, I'm kind of confused on why we don't get that same deal as what they're telling Activision can do. And then I think when they questioned Todd, Todd about it, he's like, well, you know, right now it's just a case by case basis.
I felt bad for Pete Hines, another Bethesda guy. Like, I guess he's the step below Todd Howard.
Yeah.
And he was like, you were quoted as saying you were upset that PS5 players couldn't play Starfield. You know, what do you mean by that? What does that mean to you? And he's like, that's a huge part of our audience that all of a sudden won't get access to this game. That matters to me. If they're we use the term crying in certain aspects, right, in this industry, but like if a fan base is upset and they have loved our games for 30 years at this point, that they've been making this type of Western RPG and they've been synonymous with this type of experience, and all of a sudden we're gonna like and they're not going to have access to that, when for a while, remember with the Bethesda thing, it was up in the air for like 6 months. We didn't know. It was back and forth. I'm sure there's podcasts where we talk about, they don't know. They won't confirm. They won't confirm or deny whether Starfield's coming to, I think at the time it was the next generation PlayStation, right? Or PS4. Where's Starfield going to? So as a creator, you know, money talks, and money is paying for that development and marketing and all those sorts of things, but you don't want to cut off as an artist. It would be weird to align it with a certain thing. Say like Apple Music's coming to you to be exclusively on Apple Music, but you know your Spotify listeners are not going to be able to partake in their usual playlist and their sharing and their numbers and all the things that they're used to with being in that ecosystem, right? I know music's a little bit different, and there's ways to get music even easier than a video game title, but you know, all of a sudden you're saying, hey, this platform that you're invested in and that you use every day and you're comfortable with and you share with your friends, and you get on there and it's a social platform, and all of a sudden you won't be able to partake in that media that you've been looking forward to, that we've shown off before, on that device.
Right. I don't know. I think that's the only, out of that, everything, like you said, out of everything they said, all that testimony is probably the only thing that hurts their case, but I don't think it's enough, because it's not like they're going to take a huge chunk of the industry. And so, but I mean, you can look at it like it puts something on the radar. That way, I think Microsoft at this point has to be careful with ABK, because at this point they go too far in exclusives. If they try to buy somebody else, they're gonna get thrown out in their face every time. You know what I mean? So now it's like you have to be like, all right, and it makes sense. Microsoft did it because, you know, they didn't. What else they had coming out this year other than those Bethesda games? They needed it. I just think it would have been better if they would have just did the whole Obama putting the medal on himself thing. Like, Bethesda give an exclusive game for this, because Microsoft paid for the
Presidential
contract.
Medal of Game of the Year.
Yeah, they paid for 2 years of exclusivity of Starfield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just did that, and they'd be like, well, yeah, it's coming to everything else after 2 or 3 years. You know, by then it's already, you know, your audiences are mostly been played on the you know, the Xbox ecosystem. And they're probably moving on to some other game in their ecosystem. So by then it doesn't really matter if it goes somewhere else. And you make extra money for the other players who haven't played.
And those deals have been in place now for 2 generations. Like, we're all used to it. It's just now out there. It's now a thing. And it used to be just trivial things like DLC or get your first Call of Duty map on PlayStation. And it's still certain things to that extent, but it's not. I don't think
I've ever been upset about. People are upset about, like, oh, you get this extra skin on PlayStation. I'm like, you can fucking have mine. I don't even use that shit. It's like, it's not even that big of a deal.
Right, but people will talk about it. But when you look at how things broke down for like that 360 and PS3 generation, that marketing, those marketing deal things mattered, especially with Call of Duty. I don't think it's that much of a force as much as it was. Like, the three of us, do we have any interest outside of Warzone? And we could play Warzone on everything. Except
I think
Switch.
The last shitty one was what the Modern Warfare, where you got an extra mode. Remember, that was only exclusive to PlayStation, which was kind of shitty. I mean, the skin stuff is like, whatever, dude. You get to look like Captain Price. I'm like, who gives a fuck? I mean, there's probably like 500 people were mad.
Which sucks, but like, if it means that much, if that bit of that experience means that much, is that keeping you from investing in that other platform?
Yeah.
If that was like my go-to, so sorry, if KD was only available on Switch, would you buy the Switch version of Warzone just to get KD on that version?
I bought KD as a joke. I don't need KD in my Warzone, so
I need KD in my Warzone.
I don't need anything, man. Now, if you told me like, hey, this whole access area of a game like an RPG is like,
Yeah.
all right, it's only available on this one
Yeah.
console, that changes things. All right, I'd be like, all right, that's bullshit. You know, that's like you're cutting off parts of the game that you get later on. It's like that was that.
Or like the water temple's only available on Xbox. They'll just give it to you on PlayStation. And you go to the next temple.
My favorite was what it tells Tales of Vesperia, which you had came on 360. It was Xbox exclusive over here, but you know in Japan there was parts of the game that you found the character that was not available in there until PS3. Like you could find it in the 360 one where they made the references that we never got here. That just came to the PS3 version that
That's
we never
weird.
got. So like their references to the character were in there. It's the same thing with like Tales of Symphonia. Remember, because it was GameCube exclusive.
Yep.
It came out later on PS2. The PS2 had more content, so it's outside of the 60 frames per second. But and it's funny because I watched a VTuber, like a V singer that I've recently got into, and she did like a whole like Tales of karaoke, and she was just asking questions like all right. And she sung the theme song for Tales of Symphonia. She's like, what's the first console you played Tales of Symphonia? And like 90% of the people chose PS2. And I was like, holy shit. It's like, we didn't even get that version over here. But everybody fucking Japan played that shit on PS2.
Yeah. I mean, look at the install base, right? That's what that stuff comes down to. Look at the install base. You're either catering to your install base or you're trying to grow your install base. There's a reason they dropped the PS4 or let me back it down. There's a reason they dropped the PS3 from, what was it, $399 to $249 or something all at one time, and had a new model and Uncharted 2 and all that stuff. That's to grow install base and PlayStation Plus subscriptions of that era. Damn, we ended off on a tangent on that one.
I blame Brent, who had nothing.
This is going to be a quick games played. It is Brent's fault.
Brent's like, he's like, Brent, don't put that shit on me. I didn't put that in the news. We weren't supposed to talk about it. We're talking about Starfield physical release might not happen.
Brent said, "Did I do that?"
Now we can get. Now we can get
Like,
into
Chris Farley?
we can get into the real.
Oh, the real news. We just been beating around the bush for
real
45
news.
minutes.
Talk about court cases that actually amount to something, and then we get more juicy news tomorrow,
Yeah.
boys. More juicy.
We've been beating around the bush.
Gosh.
Bush.
I think
We
Thurs-
said we all need
I think
KD.
Thur-
By the way,
I mean, you can't buy him anymore. He's off the store, right? I don't think he's on there anymore. I think it was only for that season.
he's on there. Last time I looked, he was on that splash screen.
Oh, is he still on
yeah.
there? Maybe it's because I already own him. It's like, no, you can't
Well,
play KD.
Because I thought about it. I think one week, I don't think it was last week. I think it was a week before. You were like, "I'll sell my copy. It's worth more because it's got KD on it." And then I saw him on there. I was like, "Oh, so he's not gonna take this well. It just undercut his market. He can't sell his account."
Yeah.
KD's still there.
Hey man, I gotta say, as soon as they put Chris Paul in there, I'm buying him too, man. I'm gonna get the whole squad.
Which one's it
in there.
gonna be? Is it gonna be Wizards legend Chris Paul?
He got traded to the Clippers.
Brent, this player was on this team for like 16 hours and then he got traded again.
Well, what's funny is like he was not to the Clippers, to the Warriors.
Yeah.
He was part of the Clippers like almost the majority of his career, and he kept losing to the Warriors in the playoffs. And now he's going to the Warriors, where he used to talk shit about Steve Kerr all the time. Now he plays for Steve
If you can't
Kerr.
beat him, join him.
Hey man, whatever it takes to win a ring. He's like, I think he'll be 38 this year. He's only got I mean, you can't beat Father Time forever. So
I've been telling myself the same thing.
hey man, I've been losing that battle every freaking hour. Brent, take us home. Make us stop talking. All we talk about is basketball. Brent, they're coming out with my Hero Academia basketball jerseys.
Is that in the Nintendo Direct? I don't remember that part.
I hope so. I'm about
Oh, this one's by
God.
order.
$100 in jerseys.
God bless Mirror Station.
Yes.
Thank you, Mirror
bless
Station, friend of the show.
because
So
they put everything in order. Thank God.
I didn't watch the English one. So
Okay.
it's the stuff I saw
Was
was
there-
different. So some of the stuff
Was there any differences?
Yes, I didn't get the JS Stance bullshit.
Do you want to highlight those at the end?
Uh,
like the stuff you remember?
There was a those horse racing games,
Like Gallop
Winning
Racer,
Post?
a winning post.
Yeah. So they got one that's 2D that's coming out. They didn't. It's very Japanese and it's coming out over here too. And it's like, but you do it with like anime girls, and then like they're racing across aron the track, and it's coming on PS4 and Switch. And I was watching, I was like, what the fuck?
I've seen enough
man?
videos with anime girls and horses.
No, there's no horses. They're just running like on a track like horses.
So sorry, what was that stream you used to watch with the random, like the people with the horses?
Oh my god,
the horses would
about
like
that. Yeah,
stretch out.
the Japanese streamers. It's the gambling streams where people would pay money for gambling, and they were like, it was like everybody they bet on would like lose at the end or something. It would always be some random person from like the end that wins. I forgot what it's called.
We used to watch this for hours. If Brent hasn't seen this, we gotta find it and send it to him. Brent, it was like a horse race, but there would be random shit that would happen. Like the horse would stretch out like Gumby, or somebody would be close to the finish line. They'd take a bat and beat the hell out of the other horse.
Yeah, they wouldn't win. You're like, what the fuck
It
just
was
happened?
so
I was
great,
like,
but they would be like a clown would be the jockey. It was so random.
all right, guys, look this up real quick. It's called Uma Musume Pretty Derby.
Pretty Derby. This is the anime girls.
Uma Musume.
I thought
Pretty
Umi
Derby.
is ocean.
No, yeah, Umi's ocean, but this is Uma Musume.
Pretty Derby. I see it. And the girls are just running around.
Yeah, they're acting
It's
like
a mobile
horses,
title.
but they're right.
The mobile game, within 10 months of release, grossed nearly $965 million in Japan by December 16th, 2021. A mobile game, $1 billion. $1 billion.
Okay, then.
And then the other one they had on there was Mamede Bakaru, which looked like, I thought it was a Goemon. When I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this is Goemon. But it's not. But it's a Goemon style game. Apparently, it's made by Feel Good, the people who did the Yarn Kirby games. They didn't show that over here.
Cesar, this is ridiculous.
I was like, damn. It looks crazy.
And they're hauling ass like they're literally anime running, like they're like
around a horse track. Yeah. I was sitting there like, what the fuck am I watching?
Oh,
man?
they're kicking up dirt.
And then I went and watched the American Direct, the American Direct. And I was like, oh, that one wasn't on there, and then the Goemon ripoff wasn't on there. I was like, oh, okay. I think those are the only two ones that stood out to me. And then they got the board game ones that are like,
Cesar, they have tails, man. I think I'm out. They have tails coming out of their backsides. They're training like tracksuits, and then they just haul ass.
Yeah.
Like Inazuma 11.
It looks fucking ridiculous. Yeah, it looks fucking ridiculous. I just want it. It's coming out worldwide. Yeah.
I just thought this direct was hilarious because the first, handful of announcements, a bunch of people in the comments are just Z.
Oh, I disable comments, man. Fuck comments. Yeah.
And
hot takes. Come here for your hot takes.
Just watch it for the hilarity, because once the direct started popping off, there was none of that. So they started off with another look at the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC.
This looked good.
This
looked really good.
Zero, which
it looks like a new Pokemon game, right? It almost looks like it doesn't look like an expansion.
Yeah.
It's like a full fucking release.
Yeah, and that goes into the stuff for the Teal Mask and Indigo Disc.
So you think this is where we have to pay for all the bug fixes? Is this the one? This is how we get it?
Going back to that's a callback. Going back to our previous statement. Yeah. Let them fix it and re-release it with all the shit on it. Don't pay $70 day one.
Yeah, but that's bullshit, man. You have to buy the fucking DLC to get it. But I think like Cyberpunk's not doing that shit. You get all the fixes without having to buy the expansion.
And I still keep seeing that logo for that game we said looks like Cyberpunk. It throws me off every time. The one we talked about last week.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Brian. Go for it, man.
We got another look at Sonic Superstars, like a more in-depth look. It went over about there's 4-player couch
co-op. I don't think it's online at all.
Yeah. Brant, this game looks rough,
it looks
man.
awful.
Switch,
that video on Switch was bad.
It's pretty bad.
I was looking at it, I might buy this on next.
Bruce says he always enjoys the Pokemon releases. I think he's playing Sword right now. He's enjoying that one.
And I think this got confirmed to be coming out near another title.
Like 4 days after, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crowding October. October's getting very crowded.
Some of those will move
already,
which we know, but Yeah.
They have to. Yeah. I mean, you can't beat some of the Amigo Game of the Year.
It's coming to Quest. I'll probably get the Quest version. I'm gonna be all up in the controllers, shaking my maracas.
It might be on your future announcement version that it's
It
coming up
might
in the
be.
next story beat.
I wouldn't hate it.
Next up was Palia.
Palia.
Just says build the life of your dreams in this with players from all over the world in this simulator where you can discover the mysteries.
Free to play.
Of
It looked good
world.
for a free to play title.
Yeah, becoming this holiday season. We got a more in-depth look at Persona 5 Tactica. And surprisingly not Persona 3 Remake. It did not... It was rumored, you know, to kind of be here, but it never showed up.
Maybe later, maybe next Switch hardware, next Nintendo
We
hardware.
advised you to put it on
Maybe.
the next Nintendo hardware. The NS.
Yeah,
The
maybe they
NX.
actually listen to them on like
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft didn't
So-
listen to them. They just said they're like, here's another expansion for the thing.
So
you told us
Twitch
to
told
hold
me
off
we
on."
got a sexually explicit message, and I hit accept, and then it was nothing there. So if y'all see something on your end on the chat, I didn't see it. I don't know.
It probably got blocked because
Yeah,
I told it to accept.
they probably
Yeah.
self-moderated.
It said it was blocked. I
No.
told it to accept, and I can't see anything.
They came for the sex machines and just saw us talking.
Hey,
So
we have a
they're
certain
trying
audience.
to start it back up again. Yeah.
But they went over like some of the battle, the gameplay. It looks pretty good. It's to me, it did, like we talked about the other last week. This looked like a 3DS
Yeah.
ass game.
This was a 3DS game, man. This was that
Yeah.
Persona Q thing. This was going to be Persona Q5 or whatever it would have been.
Yeah.
Persona 5Q or
Right.
whatever it's
Release
fucking called.
release something for that platform we have 110 million versions out of. Consoles out of.
I mean, which is cool. I mean, we get it on what? We get it on Switch, we get it on Steam, we get it on PlayStation 4, 5, we get it on Xbox One, Xbox Series. So it's a lot of people get to play it.
That's good that Xbox is getting the love on these. Sometimes they're on the outs on JRPG stuff.
And Game
next,
Pass. It's on Game Pass too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Day
It's not the
one.
birthday gift I wanted, but it's the birthday gift I got.
Don't you have another one? I feel like I saw another date out there.
It's coming up later in the show, I believe.
Okay,
It's the
okay.
one that's the true gift to me.
Okay. Make sure you highlight it when
Persona
you see it.
5 Tactica.
Okay.
Oh, you'll know it. It's something that we played in 1995, and it's back again.
Next, we got to look at Myth Force. Myth Force is a first-person, like, multiplayer online hack and slash.
This looked good.
Inspired by like Saturday morning cartoons.
This looked
I haven't seen this one
great.
because this was not on the one I watched.
Cesar
I'll have to
watched
watch
this
it later.
trailer. Russell's texting me the whole time. He's like, dude, this looks awesome. It has a D&D flair to it where it's like the cartoon characters from Saturday mornings, but it's
I did
random
watch
with...
the cartoon character, and I did watch the cartoons from Saturday morning.
This will be your jam. I promise you'll like this one.
No date on this. It just says available later this year.
Boo, Brant, boo.
I'm not gonna rant about all the updates we aren't getting on Splatoon 3, but we are getting the new Splatfest. Which
Yeah, but I
is
Is this
It
the
is
PlayStation
released-
one?
yes, you got it. You nailed it, man.
Stars.
Yeah, the Inklings and all them, they're coming over.
I see whipped cream and other delights. I think that's...
the latest.
Ice cream.
Yeah, the latest Splatfest will involve your favorite flavor of ice cream. Will be vanilla versus strawberry versus
Mhm.
mint chip.
No, I love cookies and
That's what I
cream.
So,
I don't have a
so
contestant.
Pick,
I like
yeah.
Oreo.
Oh,
Oreo's on it.
which is cookies and cream.
pick your flavor and
Cookie dough.
battle it out.
Cookie dough's also a solid pick.
Then we got a look at a surprise return of Detective Pikachu.
Was the English done by Danny DeVito? As I watched the Japanese one, I didn't hear.
I
the
don't
English one.
think
Was Danny DeVito
so.
in
It
there?
didn't sound like Danny DeVito.
Richard, don't seriously take me. Don't take me seriously.
I mean, I'm thinking I would be more interested if it was Danny DeVito as Detective Pikachu. It's not though.
Just him
Oh,
reading off
Jesus.
lines of Always Sunny in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
as Detective Pikachu. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this game?
I just read this long thread of the making of Batman
Oh,
Returns, so I'm deep into the Danny DeVito stuff.
Detective Pikachu is coming to Nintendo Switch October 6th. So there again, you got another game crowding October. Next
Birthday
was
game.
The game.
a pretty large explosion of.
Oh man, I know that soundtrack like the back of my head.
Yeah.
Man. I was home
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
time.
People were extremely excited about
This was a game club game before your day, Brant, but I think you
Yes.
played along with us at the time.
I did not. I was going to, but just
Yeah.
never got around to
Yeah.
it. This is the remake for Super Mario RPG.
And it
It
looks-
is a 1-to-1
It looks
remake
fucking amazing. It
in
looks
a
really
updated
good.
art style.
Same composer. She's back.
remaking the.
She's
Yep.
back.
It's a Final Fantasy 15 composer, right? Yoko Shimomura? Is that right?
She's done a lot of stuff for Square Enix, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt
A
it.
bunch of like
Yeah.
later Mana titles and Kingdom
I
Hearts
mean,
stuff.
this was a SquareSoft game, so I mean,
Yes, it was.
yeah.
Someone noted, this is not my observation, but I feel like we would be amiss if we did not mention this on our podcast. Super Mario RPG came out like a year before Final Fantasy VII, so it was a highlight of the culmination of the relationship between Squaresoft and Nintendo by using their characters for an incredible RPG. A friend of the show, Joel, who designed our intro and outro music, he says this game taught him how to read. Like, he said this was the reason he wanted to learn to read scripts and like get into RPGs and things like that. And then within a year, you had Final Fantasy VII famously leaving the cartridge format, coming out on PlayStation. Didn't this come out after the N64 came out?
I think it was right before. I remember playing this when I was
Right
in
before?
5th grade.
Yeah.
I was in 5th grade when this came out. We bought it at launch day and got it. I put a lot of hours in this game. A lot
But
of
it's
fucking hours. So many times I've gotten to the end and like, oh, I wasn't strong enough to beat Smithy, and I had to like, all right, let me just start from scratch and do it again. So many fucking times I restarted. So many times.
It's a very important title for the Super Nintendo, for Squaresoft, for RPGs, and to have this on a new platform. We've had it on. I know it came out on Wii. I know it came out on Wii U. Did it ever get a 3DS release for the new 3DS that played Super Nintendo games? I didn't think so. But it came out on the Super Nintendo Classic,
know.
the SNES Classic, which is probably
It
your.
has not been released on the online. People have been asking for it for the Switch.
That's
Online
right.
stuff.
That's why it hasn't, because they were doing this in the background the whole time. So the important thing to note is now you don't have to pay $300 for this or $200 for Super Nintendo Classic, whatever it is. You can get this for $60 on a platform that is still currently supported, and they have 115 million consoles out there. Same thing. But this looked
And
incredible.
it will be available November 17th of this
A
year.
day which shall live in infamy. I will always remember it as the PlayStation 3 launch day.
It's almost every PlayStation launch
It's
day.
almost every
Almost.
single PlayStation launch day. And an important day for Cesar, in which he also picked up multiple PlayStations.
That and I think what was it? Nintendo beat me by like 6 months. So they were like, what were they? Were like July '83, and I was like November. So
Yeah.
it's like 4 or 5 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, but we didn't stop there. We have more.
But wait, there's more.
Related news. We have our first look. It was very short little look at a brand new Untitled game featuring Princess Peach.
Super Princess Peach 2. Let's fucking
They
go.
made a big deal with that's an incredible game. They made a big deal about where she was standing in the game. Do you think that's going to be like an NFC integration or some sort of? I mean, that's the
Don't
gimmick,
know.
but what is that? You think?
I'm not sure.
So,
I mean, it's cool. I mean, like all this Mario stuff coming out. So
oh yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Like, hey, look at all this great Mario stuff coming in the pipeline. So
18 billion of you watched the movie, so here's more stuff for this
It's,
franchise.
I think still the highest grossing movie of the year. Still, it's like 1.3 billion. I think. I think
It's a good film.
I think Guardians is second place at like 813 million, and I think Spider-Verse is like a third or fourth. So it's not that many movies. I think Fast and the Furious, Fast X, I think is like third place. It's not like it used to be back in the days where it's not often where movies break $1 billion now. So like this is the only movie this year that broke $1 billion. So
What do y'all think they'll do with that that platform she stands on? So, listeners, watch the trailer for sure. It's very brief for the Princess Peach one. I showed my kids this, and they were very excited. But they made a point to say that she stands. All of us were. They made a point to say, like, when she stands at a certain point, she gets this ability. And I think it was ice.
I don't know. It looked like she was on the stage of like a theater.
Yeah.
And stuff kept like changing around her and like different scenes and stuff.
Which is a very Miyamoto-esque trope for storytelling. And puppeteer.
It'll be interesting to see. Oh, he's never heard of that game.
And he's not doing that fucking
I could
movie
speak
anymore.
for him.
He went to that booth. I guarantee you that
Yeah.
dude played puppeteer.
Oh yeah. Or no, Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, he's still like, I don't know what that game is.
He's never heard of a PlayStation.
Oh, God bless Insomniac. Insomniac was just happy, like, hey, maybe we inspired him a little bit. Nah, I never heard of Ratchet and Clank. I don't know what the fuck that is.
What was that for? Mario Galaxy? Was it Mario Galaxy they were saying?
Yeah, and I think they came out with Ratchet and Clank Future first, I think, or something like that, where it came out a little bit before or something like that, where it had that gravity mechanic.
Along with that announcement, we got the announcement that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, that was originally for the 3DS, is getting a remake for the Switch, arriving sometime next year.
Granted, so begins a remaking 3DS games. Here we go.
I think I remember something about somebody saying that there was a Luigi Mansion remake or something that was supposed to come.
Somebody
to the Switch.
Somebody had floated around online like everything we saw in this direct. They had everything. Like somebody floated 100%, like a day or two before. Like some of the insiders were like, somebody's got their hands on this cookie, man.
But I think I remember like a year or so ago, they were talking about there's a bunch of stuff from the GameCube that's supposed to get remastered or re-released on Switch,
Remastered.
like F-Zero and
or Metal Gear Solid
Luigi's
Twin
Mansion
Snakes,
and we're supposed to get all this different stuff released
or
for Switch.
P&O 3 or Sonic Gems Collection. I'll just keep going all day.
That sounds good.
Yeah, so Richard, we're talking about the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, the game that you did not beat
On
the 3DS.
I didn't beat it.
So
I got to the third mansion and I was like, why is there multiple mansions? And I stopped.
I think we both stopped at the same point.
I was like, fuck multiple mansions.
One of my kids played through the first game on Switch with their uncle, and they've been clamoring for the second one since then. Like, we need to play this, and I'm telling them, it's on a handheld. It's not the same as what we were doing before. We can't easily, like, one of us has to hold it, and we all join together and do this. Like, it's not a...
Don't you say that, Richard. If you go on eBay, they got some modded ones that have HDMI, and you pay the hundreds of dollars.
We could have done that.
And then play it on the TV.
Instead, we will get now we have a dedicated Luigi's Mansion box, right? Except for the arcade one with the vacuum cleaner controller thing.
The first one's not been re-released, right? Has the first one been
No.
released?
Yeah, we got it for Switch.
Yeah. No, we didn't.
What did I play it on? I guess we played on GameCube.
Yeah. I think it got released on 3DS.
It did. I thought they came to Switch for some reason.
Because remember, that was the whole thing you were so excited about, like the 3D mechanic. Oh, the original thing it was made for.
Yep, it was 3DS.
I don't know why you sound like Doc Brown in
You're right.
I don't know why you sound like Doc Brown in my head, but that's how.
No, you're right, because they originally intended that first Luigi's Mansion to be compatible with 3D displays. And then we finally got it for 3DS. No, you're right. I thought they were all on there for some reason. Damn. That's a missed opportunity.
I'm looking for you, buddy. I'm looking for you right now. I'm looking for 3DS with HDMI out so you can play that too.
I'm not buying one of those, no matter how much, no matter how many hundreds of dollars it is. I've seen some DS capture kits, and they're ridiculously expensive.
They are.
Yeah.
I see some VTubers use them from time to time. I was like, damn.
A lot of people that did the modding for those were actually over in Japan, but once they passed that law to where you can get criminally charged for modding those things, everybody had to stop. So
yeah, that would change my outlook on doing modifications. You'll be criminally charged.
It's weird. Yeah, it's not weird. It's bad over there because I think I read a lot of manga online that doesn't get translated over here sometimes, and so like they got people over here like, hey, we'll pay for you to like scan stuff and send it to us. And people are
Wow.
like, "Don't do this. You will fucking go to jail for
Yeah.
so long. Don't fucking do
Damn.
this. Don't do this because if you get caught, they were telling people like, don't do this if you live in Japan. Do not do
Is
this."
that what Yuji Naka was doing?
He wish he did. He probably do less. Actually, probably do more time if he did that. Japan's weird, man.
Next up, we had a very weird announcement, at least for my.
Richard, I know you're very
Thought.
excited about it, but USB-C in bill capture card, red and new Nintendo 3DS
How
XL
much?
for the low price of $517.
Sure.
That's. I mean,
It's a PS or it's
Honestly.
Xbox Series X with the new price increase. It's fine. Plus tax.
They even got one with the Year of Luigi edition. It's $800.
Sure.
no.
What year is that? Every
Um,
year is the year of Luigi.
It's I don't think we
For
got
all who
it.
celebrate.
It's the old school 3DS, like the glossy one.
Iwata was all over the year of Luigi. That might have been part of his last ad campaign
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I saw they give him the shout out in the credits in the movie too. He
Yep.
was on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Back to the direct here.
No,
We
Grant,
did get-
back to going off the rails.
We did get Batman the Arkham trilogy, so that's Arkham
on the-
Knight, Arkham
Not
Asylum,
on the Japanese one, so I didn't.
and Arkham
realize
City.
that.
That's a big get.
which comes with all the DLC. I wondered how this was going to be done, if it was going to be cloud based, if it was. It's been clarified. Basically, the cartridge does come with the first game on it, and the other two are download only. That of course can't be played without the cartridge inserted.
Of course.
So
Yeah, but it's native.
As
though.
one does.
It's native.
I mean, this is a big
it'll
get.
probably look like butthole on the Switch.
Yeah, there's other ways to play those at this point, but you have, again, we're to that point, you have a platform, we have 110, 115 million consoles out there. It's an easy bet for them, and it's easy funding, I guess, for Rocksteady's, whatever their next.
I like Arkham Asylum a lot, so I'm okay with just owning Arkham.
Just having a physical copy of that. I need to play it. It's
just
playable on Steam Deck.
That's
I need
me.
to download the Steam Deck when I play it.
I don't think I'll pay
I
more
don't-
than $20 for it, but I do like Arkham Asylum that much. I did not like Arkham Knight that much, so Arkham City is probably the best one.
It's
though.
almost a reminder, like getting all of them at once. It's almost a reminder of the Wii U days when we got those weird offshoot ports, and it's like, why didn't we get the whole thing or the newest one? Like, why did we get Arkham City as a launch title instead of Arkham Origins or whatever was coming up, or both of them, that sort of thing? It was just this bizarre Wii U port decision.
I
Like Mass Effect 3, we got Mass Effect 3 instead of the trilogy.
Yeah.
Why?
But that was the best version of what City, right? Was the one on Wii U, right?
People say.
I think that was the one
It was
that's more
pretty
fleshed
And
out.
Splinter
Yeah.
Cell. Was it
Pretty good
Splinter Cell Blacklist, I think, with the touchpad controls is the preferred
don't-
version?
I don't think they ever added the extra stuff on any other version of Arkham City, correct, Brant? I think it was only on that Wii U one.
Is it
right?
on this one?
So.
Yeah.
Can you use the touch screen for anything?
They didn't clarify,
I don't know.
other than it's as Batman Arkham Trilogy is coming to Nintendo Switch, excluding
Yeah.
Origins and excluding Blackgate.
Next up,
So-
I'm going to knock out a couple for you, Brant. Board game Gloomhaven. Take your mercenaries through dungeons in this mix of turn-based and card games. Gloomhaven will be released on September 18th.
What did Russell say about
I
that?
messaged
one?
Russell,
It's a
said
board
this
game
is
for
a Russell game through and through. He said, let's play the board game. I have it. And I moved on from there.
So it is a real board game. Oh shit!
So, friend of the show, Russell, co-launcher of NOFODcast, he has a dedicated board game table. So it looks like a kitchen table, and then you take the lid off, and you've got like a sunken, felted area. Like it's a legit board game area. So as soon as something like that comes up, he's like, I got the real one. Let's play the real one. Don't play the digital copy. Same with
Then he puts,
Catan.
like 40 hours. Yeah, it puts 40 hours of Catan on the Switch. So.
Yeah, and Catan is nonsense to me. I like to sit to the side and drink beverages and make
every
fun
time
of it.
y'all try to get me in there for some Catan, I'm trying to sneak out the door. I'm like, I just walk home.
Yep. I'm like, oh, you're trading sheep for roads. That's funny. It doesn't make sense.
I can't even play fucking Risk. I don't know why I'm gonna play Catan. Shit.
Just Dance 2024. Mirror Station notes a short trailer with the songs that will be released in this edition on to October 24th.
I mean, when did they just come out with Just Dance and just do like an expansion packs and I just pay $60 for expansion pack?
But
when do we
So
get to that point?
I saw the notes at the bottom of this. You watched the Japanese one. This is it's basically like a physical song pack for this year, if you still have 2023 and you're paying for the Just Dance Live or whatever they call it, like the subscription,
Yeah.
you'll get all the extra songs that are going to come to this one. You just don't get the on-cart version of 2024, is my understanding.
Yeah, but none of them are in cart. They're all code in the boxes.
But you don't have a code-in-the-box license for 2024 until you get 2024, even if you have 2023
Holy
in the
fucking
live.
shit. God, what is with Ubisoft in this fucking chart of like, oh, you had this version, oh,
It's
buy
like
this
Guitar
one, you get,
Hero.
like 85 different
It's almost like Guitar Hero before they
I get it,
went
it's
into
licensing.
the...
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but it sucks ass, man. Come on. All right,
I agree.
Sorry, go on.
Next up was Silent Hope. 7 warriors will join together in this action RPG with changing dungeons to face monsters. Silent Hope.
You almost sound like the Nintendo Direct person when you talk like that. It's pretty good.
Silent Hope comes to Nintendo Switch on October 3rd. 7 warriors will join together in this action RPG with changing dungeons to face monsters. Silent Hope will be released on October 3rd.
It's pretty good, yeah. They should fire that other person to hire you.
Next up on Nintendo Switch, on September 8th. This mix of sim farming and RPG is making a comeback ahead of its release. That's, of course, Fae farming.
If I have to hear about another cozy farming sim game, I swear to God.
That was the
People are
last
buying
fucking
the shit
direct.
out of them.
Yeah.
It was nothing. There's like 4 or
It's like
5 every single
Harvestella.
game thing.
People are buying the
They're
shit out of them.
everywhere.
It's the Animal Crossing effect.
Yeah, that, or you recently had Harvest Moon, Story Seasons, and now you had like, Stardew Valley, which is like the fucking biggest thing ever made. Now everybody's just like, I want to be the next Stardew Valley. You know, like the simple fetch simulator where I'll go do this task and do this, and it's like that's all they want. So.
Next up, we had a look at. We seen this game before. We all were impressed with this game last year. Hot Wheels Unleashed was the game we liked. This is the second.
I'm very
one.
upset they didn't put on there. Very upset they didn't put on Leading the Way in there.
Hot Wheels Unleashed, leading the way to. The little plastic cars and tracks will be back on October 19th, quote, end quote, from Mara Station. Next up, we saw Mechanics, like a kind of Overcooked, but with car mechanics. Avoid traps and fix cars, July 13th.
Should have been Bob the Builder on this thing. All right, continue.
Brant, tell me about that game that should come out on the next Nintendo hardware. You like that segue?
Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope gets more DLC. Its second DLC. Musical world with new areas and enemies to face. This DLC will be released. It was released day of the show.
Is that the Donkey Kong one?
Is that Bomb on there? Is that Bomb on there? Holy shit. That's
King
Bomb,
Bomb
right?
to you, sir.
Yeah, it's King Bomb. We have a look at Dragon Quest Monsters, the Dark Prince, which is kind of just Dragon Quest mixed with Pokemon.
Shit, we finally got it, man. We finally got a Dragon Quest Monsters. How long it took us?
20 years? 15?
Almost. Yeah, I saw this in the Japanese Direct, and I was like, "No shit, we're getting this." And I looked up.
Press A to monsters.
Press A to collect monsters.
Yep.
Someone out there is yelling at the screen.
Press B.
That it will be released December 1st. We got a surprisingly, Pikmin 4 was not canceled.
No, we thought we'd get 20 minutes of cancellation footage.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like, hey, this game's complete now.
Yep, here's how it looks.
Quite a lengthy look going over your new pal, Poochie, and going underground, and there's brand new like glow Pikmin.
They got like a Dark World, Light World theme going, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can explore during the nighttime. This is the first game where you can actually go out at night.
So they got rid of the time mechanic, which drove me insane in the first game, man. I was like, holy shit.
Cesar, are you gonna try to play that first game still with that mechanic?
I'm like 2 hours into it. I actually got further than I got the first time, because I think for me, I'll talk about it later.
Brent, he looks like Poochie, but they're calling this guy Ochi, right?
Ochi, yeah.
He looks like Poochie.
I couldn't remember.
Oh, did you?
Of course, it's still on track to release July.
And 21st. A demo
demo is available.
We still have almost 30 days for
a couple days
tomorrow, as of the posting of this recording. If I do it tomorrow.
It could get canceled. We got a couple.
So, a friend of the show, Russell, loves I don't think he bought Pikmin 3 on Wii U, but he bought Pikmin 3 Deluxe and then bought me a copy because he loved it so much. They love the co-op mechanics of playing through the whole campaign. They showed off a co-op element of Pikmin 4. Do we know yet? Have y'all seen anywhere if the campaign is like fully cooperative?
I have no.
Right, but I think
I guess somebody just did a deep dive. That's why I found out that they took out the time mechanic. Like somebody did a deep dive on Twitter recently
because
about
they're comparing it to Pikmin 2, which is a huge fan favorite apparently.
Well, yeah, because I said they brought the dungeons back from Pikmin 2.
Which I think that one was fully co-op as well, in a certain capacity, but not like what they showed with the co-op mode on this one is almost like Mario Galaxy, where you just like shoot the stars, you're not actually doing anything. And apparently for Russell, that's a deal breaker. He's got to have the fully co-op campaign. So, listeners, if you've seen anything regarding that, let us know.
Yeah, but the demo should be in like 2 days. So
yeah.
It out.
So I got like a buy one get one on Pikmin 4. So if he ends up backing out, then somebody else can jump in that Pikmin 4 slot that's paid for. If he doesn't end up wanting the co-op campaign.
And he'll be sorely disappointed when they do the expansion pack season 1 and they add the co-op
Pikmin 4 Deluxe for the next Nintendo console.
Nintendo's done it like literally every Nintendo game has always had some expansion to it, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Also true.
Co-op missions.
We did get a surprise announcement and drop for Pikmin 1 and 2 HD.
Which I mentioned.
There's your GameCube games, Brandon, you were
more GameCube games.
They released digitally day of the show, and they will be releasing physically in October.
So
September.
I don't know how the discourse is behind these purchases, like Metroid Prime Remastered. Like, are they following up on that success? But I'm curious to know. I haven't looked at like eShop sales or, that do their rankings. Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Is it top 10? How's that doing so far?
It takes forever for my eShop to load now, so I don't even go in there to look at shit unless I have to buy something.
You just buy it offline and shoot it to the Switch. Yeah. We need new hardware.
Then we got another look at Metal Gear Solid Master Collection.
Yeah.
I tried to do the alert sound. It's on all the streamers.
Yeah.
It comes out October 24th. Will include, of course, Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3, as well as the Wonder Swan titles, as well as the NES titles.
It's a great collection. And we got some...
This was confirmed to be physical, but it basically, on Switch, on the cart, will basically just have what you need to get into the game menu, and then you will have to download every single
I'll not be
game.
buying this one.
No. It's front loaded, and I think it was 8 gigs, I think, on the card or something like that.
Which is probably Metal Gear Solid and the old school titles. That's it. We did get a look. The important thing in this one was a look at the menus. So it's got digital strategy guides for each game. It's got concept art.
The PSP games.
The rumor is the Metal Gear Solid Collection 2 has all the rest of the stuff. Metal Gear Solid 4, 5, and Peace Walker.
It's not portable
Not
ops.
Portable Ops. That remains on PSP. Brant, drop your asset elsewhere. This looks like a good comprehensive collection for those first few titles with the like an encyclopedia, the backstory, the digital comic is on this one, the graphic novel thing that came to PSP.
The PSP ones, yeah. Both of them.
Yeah, everything looks great unless you want to use keyboard and mouse, apparently, which...
Everything outside of... So if you're looking at the SKU and you do not care about what is on your physical media, which we don't know what's on PS5, and is it coming to Xbox?
It's coming to X.
I believe so.
I think it's only PS5 and Xbox Series. It's skipping out the last gen. Which is
so we don't know what's on those discs yet, but the Switch actual physical cart is a little limited. But the content for the SKU that you will be buying is chock full of stuff. So keep that in mind, whether it's you have great broadband internet or you want to be able to play this 20 years from now off the same cart. Those are kind of your factors on as far as those SKUs go.
I'm wondering if they come out with like a Volume 3 and they'll be the bastard versions and they'll have like the asset on there and portable ops like that Brand's talking about.
I mean, we already get the bastard version since we get Metal Gear 2 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. We get the NES version. We already get the bastard versions.
Yeah, they put Twin Snakes on the bastard version too.
Oh, go on.
Oh, now
I mean,
you're
I would
excited
pay
about
for another
Volume 3
Twin
now. Let me
Snakes.
tell you more about Volume
Does everybody
3.
have Twin Snakes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I went through a phase when I was like, I love Metal Gear Solid so much, and I was like, and when they came out with Twin Snakes on GameCube, I was like, fuck yeah, I went out there and bought it and went through it again. Even with the weird Silicon Knights founder owner's portrait hanging up in one of the areas, I'm like, oh, okay, this is weird. But...
Look at your copies just in case. It's one of few GameCube pressings where the label on the top is like wrinkling, like it has a texture to it almost.
I think I got the
Skies of Arcadia is another one. Version. But just look at the top of your disc, you'll see the top of the thing wrinkling, the top of the artwork wrinkling.
I got 2 copies of PNO3. That's weird. I just noticed.
You have a disc? You have a case for both? I have
Yeah.
disc only. I wouldn't mind a case. We'll talk after the show.
I can give you one I have. Yeah.
Let's see. We got Vampire Survivor.
That is a huge deal.
August 17th.
That might be a bigger deal than half the games we talked about so far.
Headbangers Rhythm Royale,
which looks really awesome, man.
A game
like
with a bunch of pigeons and 20 mini games will arrive
on Halloween,
October 31st.
This was a Team 17 joint. Think like Gang Beasts or Fall Guys, but with dancing, with weird penguin bird things.
Yeah, this is one of the games that Nintendo has more faith in than 1-2 Switch. Everybody 1-2 Switch.
They put that bitch out.
They
did. There was nothing.
They did.
Yeah. Those rumors, like Brant had brought up last week, those rumors are true. There's no faith in that. They're just like, oh, just get it out there. It's done.
Just silently release
throw it out
it.
there.
Throw it.
Yeah.
Penny's Big Breakaway from the people
I
that
want to play. This looks like Arrow the Acrobat.
Yeah.
I want to play Arrow the Acrobat now.
The 3D platformer brought to you by the creators of Sonic Mania.
This is Christian Whitehead's studio. Guy? Yep, they're not doing the new Sonic game. They're doing this one.
Releasing
I'm okay with that.
Early 2024.
It looks like what a Saturn game should have been as far as that next evolution of game design, but with a HD coat would be my description.
We got to look at the Wave 5 of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass with a brand new, what was the squeaky clean? I can't remember. It's like it looks like it takes place in like an oversized bathroom, and there's like a bunch of soap and stuff everywhere.
Yeah, you had Squeaky Clean Sprint. You're right.
Squeaky Clean Sprint.
Almost like something from Toy level. Commander on Dreamcast.
Then I think, what was it? You got Petey Piranha from the
Kamek
game. That's a new character.
Wiggler. And Wiggler.
Wiggler, you're right. Yep. From the
I like
3DS.
Kamek. Ever since Yoshi's Island, where he would like
Kamek
fly across and it would change the screen when he would drop the wand. I like that.
Was that all we got? Was they only show that one level and 3 new characters?
It says that there are
8 new tracks.
So I'm guessing guessing it's the brand new track that we saw in the trailer.
Was
Plus,
from
it's going to be
Super Mario
Legacy
tracks. Yeah, one was from the tour game, the mobile one. I'm trying to see what's in here real quick.
We got a look at Star Ocean Second Story R.
This looks good.
Which was leaked. But yes, this is an overhaul of the.
I got a confession, guys.
You love Star Ocean.
This is the only Star Ocean I beat out of all the ones I own, which I own.
Well,
Star Ocean.
Apparently this is considered
the only one I got 4 to the 89.
This is considered one of the best, if not the best,
Star Ocean.
Star Ocean game.
Did they do the
HD
2D thing with the first remake, or is that new to this one? I thought so.
No.
The first one was like the PSP game, right?
No, it's a port of the PSP one. I also have another confession. I went in the Japanese store and bought the PS4 version since I didn't think we were going to get this like 4 years ago.
And this one's more of like an Octopath style with that 2D HD. Yeah.
It's 2.5D, yeah, because it's 3D rotating camera, but then the characters are 2.5, yeah.
Then we got a look at Wario Move It,
which. Before we move on from that, which I think somebody clarified on Twitter saying that the only reason why this was made because of all the surveys people filled out, Square Enix decided to remake this game. That and the anniversary. So they do listen to the fucking surveys.
So fill out your surveys. I think I have every other Star Ocean game made as well, except for the new one, Cesar.
Every Star Ocean. every Star Ocean game is available on PlayStation now. So
Dedicated Star Ocean box.
Every one of them is available on PS4, PS5 because the PS2 ones are unknowingly exclusive to that console, unfortunately. But those PS2 backs are better. Yeah. New one's real good. It plays like shit on Switch, just to let you guys know, because it's not compatible, and the problem is you can't scale the text, so you're gonna have to get your reading glasses to look really deep in there to see what the fuck they're saying.
Gentlemen, it has to be a supreme old school game like Pixel Remaster that I'll buy on Switch. It has to be a first party Nintendo title, or it has to be a Nintendo Switch Online title, which is not pushing the hardware at this point. I'm not getting any of those things. Any things outside of that on Switch.
No.
At all.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck version of that.
Oh, that's not good.
Just letting you know. No, I told you the text is super small. It's not scalable, and it's not very.
No patches.
So I bought it on PC. Runs fine on deck. Runs really great on deck, but I can't read. I can't read the shit on there unless you get reading glasses.
That has to be a mod.
So just an FYI.
Fix,
Yeah,
right?
don't buy it for deck. I haven't looked deep into it. I just know somebody in there's like, don't do it, and I did it, and then I put it on deck, and I was like, oh god, this is not playable.
WarioWare.
Sorry,
Wario
Brandon,
Move It, featuring over 200 games.
200 mini games. Is this like a best of? What is this one?
It's just brand new Wario.
Yeah, but this should have been like everybody, 1-2 switch. This should have been what this should have been, man. I'm more excited about playing this than I.
Everyone should be that knows what they're getting into.
Don't you have 100 friends that you can sync their phones to everybody 1-2 switch and do whatever the hell they were doing?
I have a phone I can throw out the window that I won't have to do.
I have 2 friends and I'm talking to both of them. So are you guys doing that?
That's coming November 3rd. We got a look at the brand new Tears of the Kingdom amiibos for Ganondorf and Zelda. And then they closed out the show with Super Mario Brothers Wonder, which has a interesting new art style.
I don't want to say Wanderlust. What was that from? Wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the brand new...
Oh, it's a movie.
It's a brand new 2D Super Mario Bros.
It's a movie with Paul Rudd. Oh, okay.
It's kind of a fever dream Mario, right? Like when you...
Yeah.
Almost... Do you remember Mario Brothers Lost Levels or Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan when you would get the purple mushroom, like the mushrooms that always helped you out before, and all of a sudden this one would hinder your progress or take you down a power-up? It seems like when you get one of these power-ups, you have no clue what's happening. It's going to be some sort of fever dream.
It's like dimension.
Yeah.
It's like dimension hopping, right? It's like opening up another dimension.
Wicked.
Right?
Anything
it's
can
like
happen.
Redoing the area.
It looks wicked. What do y'all think about Super Mario Brothers Wonder as a title?
And he can turn into his old...
An elephant. Elephant Mario, confirmed.
So, yeah.
We always knew he had a big trunk.
Giant hat, Luigi. Yeah.
It looks like the best 2D Mario take since New Super Mario Brothers, I think. We've had derivative 2D Marios since then. Yeah.
I mean, we had ports, right? Just ports of original titles that came out on the Wii and the Wii U, right? This is the first new one in years that actually all right.
And the fear was what everyone said with the Mario Maker games. We've had 2 Super Mario Maker games. Is there's no need to make another one. The content's out there. People have made. You wanted new Super Mario World levels? They're there. You wanted a sequel, a follow-up to Super Mario Brothers 3? There's 10,000 levels out there, right? So the fact that they took a hard left and have all these random power-ups and crazy stuff that can happen, I think it's a pretty cool twist. This is a day one. There's a couple day ones in the show to me, and this is one of them. And of course, I'll support Super Mario Brothers or Super Mario RPG. Yeah.
Oh, that's a day one all day long.
Oh,
that soundtrack in my head as soon as they start playing.
Just like everything else that I fall off of, something else came up, and that was the only reason that made me fall off Super Mario RPG. That game was amazing. I hope they get the timing right. Since it's a handheld, essentially, that should correlate right with the timing, right? Because the whole, Mario RPG, when you assign a command, you got to jump on their heads and hit A again. It's almost like Legend of Dragoon. It's got to have a correct timing correlation with there. Hopefully they pull that off with the handheld too. What do we think about this direct overall, since that wrapped it up?
Some people were hating on it, but it was pretty good. It was a lot more.
That was great.
It's a lot more than I expected it would be. So I'm mad that we're not getting the Goemon.
What's the
ripoff.
Goemon ripoff? You got to send that one to us.
The one I was telling you about. Like the Japanese Direct had.
Foemon.
Hey, the Switch is region free, man.
Yeah. Japanese. They had the Pretty Derby, which we talked about. They went over to Fashion Dreamer a little bit more. Did they do Fashion Dreamer in this one?
I don't recall that.
No. They had the Goemon game, which is Mamade Bakuru, which was done by the Feel Good people, which did
and the Yoshi's
Kirby
Crafted
Yoshi
World.
Games. Yeah, and they had a version of the Game of Life, which looked fucking crazy.
Like the board game, with the two, like the blue and the pink pegs and all that in the back.
Yeah, it looked fucking crazy. I was like very anime,
funny.
very anime-esque. I've never seen anything like that. Yeah, Ketsugo Danshi, which was I'm not gonna sit there and go on there. Something with a bunch of anime boys, but and then Cry Machina, which is a sequel to one of my games that I loved so much was
Are the anime
Criteria,
boys running around a horse track? Because I'm interested if they're doing that. Because I watched something earlier where that was happening.
It says it's an adventure simulation game. It launches with a few characters and additional members available later as DLC. And apparently you have to stop the world from being destroyed using the power of anime boys. Sure, that's what it says. Then they did the board game from Konami. There was a lot of Konami in this show too, which was Momotaro Electric Railway World. The Earth Spins with Hope. It's like a weird board game, and they didn't do Fate Samurai in the American one. I just noticed that. So they showed the Fate Samurai, and they did the official announcement for like September 28th, and I think it's 29th worldwide. But this game looks so bad on Switch, man. It looks so rough.
They've got to know at this point, right? They've got to know when they look at it. It's like, come on.
It just looks bad, and it just doesn't move smooth. But I'm a huge fan of Fate, man, and I'm glad we're getting this one over here too. This is the one thing that I know Sony's done a pretty good job about releasing everywhere if they can. Because I think this is also, I don't know if it's coming on Xbox or not, but I know it's coming on PS4, PS5. It's coming on Switch. Because they've been working with Type Moon. They've been putting that shit on everything they can. I think that was, and then they did like a sizzle reel, and I think the Natsumon is still releasing next month in Japan, which is the unofficial sequel to Boku no Yatsumi, which was a Sony franchise for like the 10 years, and then that creator went off. It's like, oh, Sony won't make this game anymore, and he's now making it for Nintendo Switch. So like this is like the 5th entry in that. Unofficially in that series, which is just a boy that goes out in the country and does a summer vacation. You just do weird stuff that you would do in the country, like collect beetles and watch fireworks. It's very, very Japanese.
More of a Brant's lazy country farm simulator genre.
Basically, like that. Hang out with friends in the hideout under the bridge, and it's like there's only one road there. It's like
I don't hate
like
that.
very, very. It's very. Yeah, it's very laid back.
Has Nintendo ever had to look at power and specs and performance the way that other console makers have made going into the twilight of a piece of hardware? They didn't with NES. They were pushing the 16-bit thing. I mean, I think they were going to go with the NES for longer than that, but they saw the Genesis coming out. They saw TurboGrafx. There was 16-bit power. There was marketing behind that. But you had, like, Super Mario Bros. 3 is more complex than a whole bunch of Genesis and TurboGrafx games. They didn't give a shit by the N64. The GameCube never got outclassed because your top tier Wii launch title is a GameCube game. The Wii went its whole other avenue. The Wii U was kind of a catch-up thing. It wasn't really about performance. It was about still trying to change the way people play games and keep the casual thing going. And then
But they caught up the HD. They caught up the HD. It was right along the PS3 and 360 era with the HD thing. It wasn't too far behind. It was maybe 3 or 4 years afterwards. So. And
then the Switch was always underpowered and kind of behind, but now they're really looking at what the PS3 and 360 did at the end of that era. I think this is the first time they're finally looking back like, okay, these do not run. Think of a late generation NES game. Think of a late generation Super Nintendo game. Think of a late generation 64, GameCube, Wii. title, those are still, you can still pop those in, and you're not like, I would have rather played this on something else. I can't think of anything on that list that would have been like that, where this is the point where this blur between AAA and indie kind of blends together, and the Switch, I think, is one of the culprits of it, where you may or may not decide. You have to decide, I'm going to take a gimped version of this to play the portable version or play on an OLED or whatever it is, versus I could play on Steam, I could play on PS4 even, I could play on Xbox One or Series X and play a better experience.
Like you said, man, I mean, now it's making it hard. It's making it easier for people who have more choices, where you can take a better, you could probably play Fate Samurai better on Steam Deck than you would on the Switch. So it's like, at that point, if you have access to both, you're like, okay. You know, before, where you were like pigeonholed, like, all right, I want a portable version of this game because I'm going to play portable. You know, that it is what it is. I'll deal with the grievances. Now you got people who can, not everybody bought a Steam Deck. It's not going to probably sell it nowhere near as
right.
much
But
as,
if you also don't have a dedicated portable thing, you have xCloud and you have remote play from PlayStation, where you can still access those things portably or remotely.
This is true. As what's his face said with League of Legos, that's what's up.
We're going back down to Laszlo live at the. Those bits are so good.
What? $7 million.
The fans always get me that want to follow the League of Legends player. Do you want to come backstage?
Seriously?
They're going with you. Oh, it's a great bit.
Oh god. That and the 50, it might have been $50 million. And the $50 million prize. $50 million.
Wait, what? For this?
When we start paternity leave?
6 months. It's out 6 months for paternity leave.
Next for 6 months. That was like oh god, the one guy who wasn't cold. I got to talk to the one guy who was not cold in the stands to figure out what he's doing is differently. It's so cold.
He had another distinguishing factor besides the temperature resistance that he picked out in the crowd. Thank you, Laszlo Holmes, coming live from Nintendo Direct. Do you think, I'm going to touch on this very briefly, do you think those indie games or those third-party smaller titles, do you think Nintendo sees that, is that margin of it runs better on these other things than it does on our hardware, and the sales that may cannibalize, do you think that is a factor in their decision for this type of thing? Or is it partners just in their, I would imagine it's partners in their ear. Like, listen, we're tired of creating parity for this thing. It's so behind. You've got to have a new thing.
I mean, I think, they've always done their own thing, and I think, we had that survey recently when they went to the developers last time. Remember, they were supposedly going to do that Switch Pro thing, which was the half step, and they begged them, don't do this, don't divide the market, because they didn't want what had with the 3DS XL, which not everybody used the XL stuff with the features on there, and it was people just nobody took advantage of it. Some people took advantage of it and did a great job with it, but it wasn't there. So I think they didn't. A lot of developers please don't divide the fan base, because I think their concern was they didn't want to be pigeonholed into kind of making something for a pro, and it's but this won't run on the regular Switch. So and then you don't have everybody who does the upgrade. For,
because it's a different fan base and market than a PS4 to PS4 Pro and Xbox One to One X, yeah. Because they're not going to come out there and talk about how powerful it is. It's not going to be the whole Project Scorpio build up and PS4 Pro where you also my tipping point with PS4 Pro, I'll be honest, was PSVR support. This is the best way to play PSVR. And I was like, man, I got to have that. I believe in this VR technology. That's got to be it for me. That was your Nintendo Direct. We talked about it forever. I will touch on... And Laszlo Holmes. Thank you, Laszlo, for your bit there. I will touch on this at the very end, and then we will very briefly talk about Final Fantasy 16, because I think that's what we've all been playing, but we don't want to go into any spoiler-esque things. Meta announced today their new Quest Plus subscription program. It is $7.99 a month, and you can access the best titles on the Quest platform. This is from Jay Peters at The Verge. This was announced today. It is a subscription plan, which I have been arguing for a while that they needed. This is the right intro to VR to try certain things, and in my opinion, it's the right price point. This is the right way to get people to try these sort of things, because I've priced out all the games in this initial service, and I think it's a good value. Value is subjective to each person. It's going to be $7.99 a month or $59.99 per year. If you sign up for the monthly subscription before July 31st, you'll pay just $1 for your first month. July's titles are Pistol Whip, Pixel Rip 95, and in August, you'll be able to claim Walkabout Mini Golf, which is a huge, huge success with all their DLC packs and maps you can get, and that's $15 by itself. And Mother Gunship Forge, which, again, this is all subjective, but in my opinion, that's an excellent value, and this is what VR needs, I think. I will be supporting this with my $60 a year to let that break down to $5 a month. I think there's enough in those 2 games, easily 2 games per month, that value is worth it for me. I would like to see this type of stuff come to other platforms. I know when PlayStation VR games were included with the PlayStation Plus, we all grabbed those. Every time it was like, did we get 1 or 2 every month? Was it 2, and 2? PS3, PS4, and VR at a time? Or maybe like 1 PS3, 1 Vita, 2 PS4, 2 PSVRs or something like that. Anyway, again, value is subjective.
I think that's
yeah.
I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's a good.
The Quest store already has a very liberal policy as far as like returning stuff. If you don't like it, I think it's like 4 hours you can play a game, and if it makes you sick or it's not something you're into, that sort of thing, you can request a refund for that title, which I think is a very solid return policy. This also includes, just like PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold, that sort of thing. If you were to suspend it and not use it for a while, if you reactivated, you would get that old library right back immediately. So I think that's a plus. I think it's a good way to go VR as a service. They already give you a decent value on that hardware that you get, and to now bundle a competitive software rate for consuming some of that stuff, I think that's top tier. And hopefully, I mean, they've announced 2 months worth of titles. It could be all garbage from here on out, but I'd like to see some other quality stuff thrown in there. And that's it for news, I think. Let's go to games played. We've already been doing this for 1 hour and 45 minutes. I say we do not do our traditional games played, unless you guys have something you really want to bring up.
No, I'm fine. I only really played 1 game mostly outside of Pikmin 1, but
I think that's all of us, and we'll catch up on Pikmin 1 with you later, Cesar. We're going to keep this very spoiler-free because we're all still working our way through the game at various stages. But I'm pretty sure we all have at least 10 hours in this game at this point, which I'm very surprised I did. There was a night where... Wait, did we mention the game? It's Final Fantasy 16? I don't think we mentioned the game.
E-game.
I played it, I think it was Friday night. I played from 8 till 3:30 in the morning. It was that type of title that I could not put down. I was absolutely glued to every bit that I was engaging in the story. Do you guys have the same like immediate attachment, or was it a slow build, or?
Yeah, I was pretty engrossed. I like Sid a lot.
Sid stole the show. As soon as Sidolphus comes on the screen, he steals the show. I even paused a cutscene. The missus likes certain levels of paranormal fiction, and I was like, this sounds like the person that you always describe out of these books. Would you like to come hear them talk about stuff? She wasn't impressed, but he's immediately is a good impression as far as a character, and then there's just more depth to him as it goes. And his role in the story kind of has pivoted the way I thought this game was going to go. I wasn't really sure where the lore and the backstory and the way the character development was going. And it all ties into how Clive looks and how his character has changed from the flashback sequences, basically, that you play earlier on. He has a different appearance to him. And why does he have that appearance? What does that mean? How are those people treated? That sort of thing. And then Sid even has more backstory to him, where he ends up being more powerful than initially thought of for those that have not gotten that far into the game. For once, whenever I see something on social media, somebody posts, and I'm strictly looking for Final Fantasy 16 stuff to get the soundtrack. I want that fucking soundtrack so bad. The music is so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good.
Those arrangements of the music is it hits pretty hard.
In one of the opening cutscenes where you hear the Final Fantasy prelude, and it's just like, oh my god. But as Brent said, the arrangements, like, some of it's just atmospheric, right? It's just a kind of a theme playing in the background, and it hits so well. It's so evocative of whatever environment or mood or scenario that you're currently in the game, that it nails it in the way that Final Fantasy music has always nailed it, right? This is not an Uematsu score. Cesar, what's the composer name? He worked on 14. Soken. I saw he came from Konami. He used to work with Konami back in the day. Man, and every day I'm looking for... I finally found...
Masayoshi Soken. Yeah.
I finally found a good YouTube playlist that kind of has some, like, these are the main tracks. We pulled these from the game, that sort of thing. It's like a 23-track playlist. But I'm constantly looking on streaming services like Apple Music, Spotify, that sort of thing, to see if this score is out. I want to stream this nonstop. This would...
So... comes out like
July, there's a 6-disc SKU on Amazon, and there's an 8-disc SKU, and this is one I will absolutely be splurging for whatever content. Do not cut anything out. I want to hear everything that's in this title.
So, like, I don't want to take up too much time, but the Soken's also, so he did a lot of the Final Fantasy 14, like you mentioned before. So I don't think they'll come out over here, but if you get a chance, buy the Blu-ray audios of Final Fantasy 14. The music he did on Blu-ray audio is fucking fantastic, especially 7.1 surround sound. They won't sell it to Amazon Japan, so you have to go like
CD Japan. I've seen CD Japan for a bunch of Final Fantasy soundtracks.
Yeah. For whatever reason, the Blu-ray ones they won't sell through Amazon. So like the Blu-ray audio ones are not. There's not many Blu-ray audio tracks over here in America, but there's a shit ton in Japan. But the Blu-ray audio ones are really really fucking good, and it does in 7.1 surround. It's like if you ever want to be immersed in fucking music,
I've seen a bunch of concerts ripped to Blu-ray audio. I don't know why that didn't take off. I don't know why that wasn't a thing. Like this is the next evolution of audio. It's like quality. It's uncompressed and everything.
It's like fucking. It's a Sony thing that never took off over here. But neither here or there. But I think he did like almost all Final Fantasy 14. I think he worked with Uematsu on 14 on some of that stuff. But yeah, if you go through his, like you said, like you go through his list, I don't think he joined Square. Since then, he started doing like Dragon Guard 2 and From Mission 5. He did Mario Hoops 3-on-3.
the Mario Hoops game.
On Mana. Yeah. Lord of Vermilion. He did like everything in the Lord of Vermilion series.
Lord of Vermilion for Genesis?
So. No, there was a Square Enix game called Lord of Vermilion that we never got over here.
I wonder if that has to do with the Genesis one.
I think the only one we got in that series was the Lord of Arcana, which was the Vita game. Yeah, or the PSP game. Yeah, it's a PSP game. Which
Dawn of Mana had some significant composers on it. I might give that game a shot just based off the music. I mean, Mana music is always amazing.
Yeah.
The score is incredible. The graphics on this game are almost second to none. And it straddles a line between... There's been a lot of comparisons online, like, here's what a Final Fantasy 13 character looks like on PS3. Here's what a Final Fantasy 16 character looks like on PS5. That doesn't tell the whole tale of the scale of the characters and environments and the things that you're doing in a title like this. Because there's times where I played a lot of Final Fantasy 15. There's times where it looks better. But the things that are happening, the combat system that's in play, like there's way more systems layered on top of that outside of just like the normal. Let's compare this graphics A versus graphics B, right? It's not that easy anymore. The side quests seem to be kind of basic so far. They fill out a lot of the story in small increments. They're not as impactful as like Witcher 3 side quests, which were like almost side games in of themselves sometimes, kind of the impact that they would have. Surprisingly, there's a reason I brought this up, because I'm actually really enjoying them. They're easier to complete. They're more direct as far as their messaging and what they want you to do, that sort of thing. My kids love the side quest. They have figured out, like I showed them, Daddy, what are you playing? Let me show you. Well, where are they trying to get you to go? Well, here's where you have to go on the map. I've already been there. You can go do this. You can run to here and do this if you want to. So that was the door opening. So they love the very small contained stories of these little side quests. Like, so-and-so is a messenger. We haven't seen him in a while. Can you go? This was his last known location. And that last known location may be his final location, or it could be a hint where he's one or two more steps down the road, right? It's not any sort of... They seem very basic, almost like when I played World of Warcraft when it first came out. And it seems like those sort of simple... But it's just adding to the story. It's adding to items you get. It's doing more things. It reinforces the characters. Like, so one of the guys in a town called Lost Wing, he just runs the kitchen. And maybe he would have just been a normal restaurateur in any other game, and he gives you a quest and then you're done with him. But as you're doing these sort of missions for this character, he has an underlying bit in the story, right? He's helping out people in this town. So it's a more of a vested interest for these little side quests. So if you just look at them as simple things that you're just knocking out, sure, that's all it is. You're just running there, you're beating 5 enemies, you're picking up the thing, and you're coming back. But it adds a layer onto what these people are doing and why you care about them and the reasoning for them being there, if that makes any sense.
So yeah, to give examples, like some of the basic side quests, because I don't know how far you got, Richard, but you're going to get to a point where there's a standard side quest and then you have an important side quest, which gives you a plus over it.
I don't have those. One of the characters in the hideaway just gave me like a cheat sheet for the side quests. He's like, you can come to me and I'll show you where they're at.
Yeah. So like you'll come to a point where you'll get a plus, which actually is still optional. But if you do it, it changes an aspect of the game. It's very important. So those are the ones that they expect you have to do. But I think so far every side quest is, like you said, it's simple fetch quests. This game is very Final Fantasy 14. It's very MMORPG. It's uses as the base. This is, if you wanted to, what Final Fantasy 14 was like, this is a watered down Final Fantasy 14. From what when I put my hours and hours of 14, this is basically what it is. Except you get the great soaking score over like 50 fucking expansions. So you have like 200, 400
I need to
tracks
listen to that
of music in
soundtrack
there.
too.
But it's all on Spotify. I used to work out and run on the treadmill, listen to his music, and it still wouldn't. But
you need to work out more. That's what I took from that.
Maybe.
I kid you, sir. I kid you. I applaud your exercising efforts.
So to give an example, like I said, I'm sure like Brant's seen that too. Like some of the side quests will go into more details about the bearers and the branded, like what they go through as you compete them. As you complete them. I
just had one that
so
was
they give you more backstory.
Very on brand for that, as it were.
So it gives you more backstory in that world, and that branded and bearers are a very major component in that story. So I think there was one on there where I think the fetch quest I just did was like, oh, get this cloth so I can make clothes for these girls, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, man. And I went and got it, and it's like, thanks. It's like, hey, you got us all this, cloth, and it's like one's like silk, one's like different types of cloth or something like that. And like, which one do you like? It asked me which one I like, and I was like, oh, okay. And I told her I like the red one, and I was like, man, this quest was nothing. It was bullshit. It was just me just getting cloth to get him for this thing on there. Then they go in this whole story bit where they talk about Jill's background, and I was like, oh shit, you never would have known unless you did this whole side quest about more her backstory and everything. I was like, Yoshi P, you son of a bitch, man, you did it. I sat there, I was about to doubt his ass. It's like, you made me do this side quest for no fucking reason. And then at the very end of it, it's like, oh, you get this more additional character about where this character came from, how she came to be, how they met as children, and all this stuff. It goes deep into it, like stuff you never would have known until that's like, because she was going to make this dress for her. So it's like if you do the side quest, there's usually
it may seem like a simple task, but the payoff story wise or character wise, the story's great, but it's basic. It's not treading any ground that hasn't been tread before, in my opinion. The character interactions and how they play into that story, that has been the novel part. And
I mean, Clive is a very good
I
character.
love Clive.
He's a very
Yes.
likable character. Yeah. And it's been, how long has it been since we had like a main character that has not been like,
and he has so many faults.
on.
Like the story bit I just went through.
It's
He came to an acceptance. He figured something out. But they're also showing us cutscenes and little bits of the lore. He don't know shit. There's still something going on.
Yeah.
He just came through, 10 hours or whatever it is I'm into it of trying to come to terms with something that he may or may not have done. And I know a little bit more than he does because of how they've been feeding some things in there. Cesar, to piggyback on your side quest, I did a very basic fetch quest type thing. And it turns out, it might have been the one with the letter. Turns out the letter is to Sid from someone that I didn't know existed. And it adds this layer, and I haven't elaborated on it. I haven't gone into it anymore with that character. But it added something to this character that I had not seen before. They all of a sudden, they have a family member that they've, Sid's kind of hard around the edges. And you think he's after one thing, and it turns out he's really just trying to...
And he's very flirtatious. He's like hitting on everybody. I noticed that. Yeah, I remember he did that with Kadaivu a lot, where he's like, "You're pretty, but you're not my type." He's like, he'll just sit there and flirt with everybody. It's like,
don't
it's
try
funny,
to
man.
use that charm on the mission I'm on now. I'm meeting a lady of the night.
Yeah, it's like, you're easy on the eyes, but put your clothes on.
Then he's telling me and Jill as we go meet this lady of the night. He's like, you two young ones behave. I'm like, damn.
You're not super far from where I am. You're about to hit a point where the game tells you, hey, if you have things that you need to go do before you enter this area,
really,
go and do them.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
And
if you go based
you know
off
when
that,
you hit that
then
text box, you're like, oh shit, this is going to be some.
I've played a lot of
something
this.
serious,
Are you guys proud of me? I've
So
played a lot
based
of
off
this
what-
game.
Yeah, I've seen you on there a lot. I'm maybe 10 hours ahead of Brant. I'm like, I'm almost to the part where people are complaining where the story falls apart. So, I think they said after 2/3 is where the.
Did you see
story
that
gets
Jason
weird.
Schreier
I haven't
bit?
gotten
Is that
far
what?
yet.
Because Russell sent me that, and I was like, that's subjective. I don't know. Because
But that's
Same.
always been Final Fantasy for me. Like, it always gets weird to the end. Where like I still remember Final Fantasy 9 was it you did
Yeah.
the whole battle where you're going after Kuja, right? And it's
It's
like you
that
beat him and then
Osmos
some other
thing.
fucking thing
Yeah.
comes down like, oh, it was me the whole time. Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck? Who's this guy? Why am I fighting him? It's like I think the only time I've ever had a Final Fantasy that actually made sense with the final boss battle was what, 6 with Kefka.
But even at
7
that,
with
his his
Maybe
mom's
4.
from space. He's
So
trying
it's
to
like-
relive his mom's fantasies and destroy the Earth. Like,
Yeah.
that's not. What is that? I have to keep the Earth from being destroyed.
I mean, fucking 8, they were fighting their kindergarten teacher. I'm like, what the fuck's happening when I was playing this game? I was like, what's going on? I'm like, we all grew up in class. This was our teacher. I'm like, what the fuck's happening? And like,
I was
this
thinking
whole- this whole
about-
thing. So like,
I was thinking about
That's always been Final
Metal
Fantasy
Gear
to me.
Solid. I was thinking
So-
about all these favorite games of mine, where it just doesn't really. It's the characters and what you do and the interaction and the way the story. It may not be how the story ends. Not all stories have great endings. They're not all masterfully wrapped up. Metal Gear Solid dove into like, okay, this guy's arm got chopped off. Now he's gonna live in someone else, and all of a sudden you had nano machines inside of you. You didn't know were inside of you the whole. Like, it dove off into this bullshit, but that was a great finale. You were.
and
Yeah,
everybody's talking
Fox
about
died.
Fox died.
But you were fighting Ocelot the whole time, and you were fighting Liquid Snake, and then they
Yeah.
played the theme at the end. And did you rescue Meryl? Like, it never was this culmination.
It was always arguing about what was the true ending. There was
I
two
never had
endings. Which one was
Ocelot, by the
real
way. I
one?
always had Meryl on the back of my snowspeeder.
Well, I think. I mean, you had to get the active camera.
Yeah,
to
and
get
she gave you the
Ocelot, right?
bandana. She gave you the unlimited ammo.
And then he had the active camera
Yeah.
in Metal Gear Solid 2. So,
But it's like
but she shows up in 4.
I
so
didn't
was
read
like,
any
whatever,
reviews.
go
I
with
read
it.
leads. So I read either the Twitter quote or something like that. But I saw the same thing about the story falling off the last third. But
That's not just Jason Schreier said that, but that is like a common thing. But there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of discourse on this game where people have bitched about it. And we had this conversation before where like people bitched about 12. That's not a true
Yep.
Final Fantasy game. People bitch about 13 was a true Final Fantasy game. People bitch
Yeah.
about 15. It was a true Final Fantasy game. We've done this same bullshit for like the
Yeah,
last.
and then they end
10.
up being, I mean, 8. I would say 8 and 9. You
Great.
mentioned, yeah.
Yeah,
These
revered.
are classics, and
Yeah.
everything I've played of this game is like this is an all time. I keep sending y'all do this too if you don't mind. Send Russell, the friend of the show, Russell, the Final Fantasy 16 PS5 SKU on Amazon, the $560 one. just keep sending it to him. I'm like,
Oh god.
he's
Okay.
been looking for, maybe this is the best compliment I can give it. He's been looking for the killer app for PS5 outside of like Ratchet. I'm like, this is the one. I would have done this one. This one is doing something special.
It's good. Yeah. It's like you said. It's a
Yep.
graphically, it's a Final Fantasy game. It's beautiful. The backgrounds out there. Sometimes I look in the backgrounds and look at the mountains and the
The
lakes
castles,
and stuff
like
like
the
that, and
stonework in the
it's great.
castles and the mortar and stuff. I'm just like,
It's the fucking the fucking textures are crazy. The particle effects on the
Yeah.
crystals is insane. So I'm like, it's definitely it's hard for me to imagine like people were bitching like, well, this was a PlayStation 4
No.
game. It's like I can't tell.
no, you didn't
This
play
fucking
enough
was, like,
PS4 games.
PS5. That's like they like we can't. It's like we try to put on
Yeah.
PS4 and it's like we can't do this and we moved it to PS5. I believe that. So I'm like, the game is good. It's Brant's favorite battle.
I don't
system,
hate it.
Kingdom Hearts
I don't
S.
hate it. I'm
Um,
enjoying it.
It's
It's-
damn.
Look, there's a point where you get to control 3, and you played this, Brand, on the demo, the 3 Echelons. Like
I
said,
have
didn't play the
2
demo,
that I have
but
access
I'm at
to.
the point now where I got 3 Echelons, and it's fucking it's fucking satisfying when I go through and do my attacks, switch the magic, and then switch to another one, do
Yeah.
attack, switch the magic. I fuck people.
I'm
up.
doing that
It's
with my
staggering
2.
And
instantly.
I
Yep.
will
So
say,
it's very satisfying.
I will
Yeah.
say for that, the first one that you have, the Phoenix icon abilities, I saved up and got the I guess the top tier, the most
The
powerful,
Birth of the Phoenix.
the
Yeah, I
flames
always get the-
flames of
So Brant's
rebirth.
saying you get
Yeah,
ability points
my-
like a sphere grid or a license board or any other Final Fantasy thing. This is a Final
Yeah.
Fantasy game. You have those sort of upgrades. You have Moogles, you have crystals, you have chocobos, you have swords, you have fantasy. But you assign your ability points to these icons that you have like inside you.
Yeah.
Mhm. And so I bought that ability, and that's a finishing move. Or if you get a wave of enemies that comes in at you, just do
Yeah.
that, and all of them
So-
fall. It's great.
I'm at the point now that I don't have enough space to use all the Echelons now. I can swap them. You have to swap them.
How many can you How many
So
can
I'll
you
leave it at
assign at
that.
one time? Is it 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
3.
3.
And I think I got
Okay.
more than 3. Let's just leave it at that. All right, so I won't tell you how many I got.
I see where they're coming because Kotaku will be like, here's where you need to use Bahamut's attack the most. I'm like, fuck if I know. I've just seen they're dominant.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was gonna.
Or, yeah,
Yeah.
Odin, Titan. Yeah, it goes on. But like if you have Garuda right now, like that fucking that one where she throws down a tornado. That if you save up, she was the weakest one and almost got her off my team because like she has the claws and I use that to stagger quickly.
Yep.
They'll go through that meter down there and stagger quickly. But if you can upgrade and get the ultimate one and you get that fucking tornado, I waste that fucking tornado and just walk out. That's just turn around.
I'll start
Fucking
start
else.
assigning
And
points
I'm
to
like,
that
I'm just
one.
laughing the whole time. So it's like, just when you go on it, just get the accessories. Like I think I have the ability plus 20% accessory, and I have like you just buy those. I have experience plus 25.
So-
Cooldown
So
stuff,
please
or-
fucking play this game.
Yeah.
Cesar mentioned an ability, right? He's talking about an icon that you kind of absorb, and you're able to use the magic from that creature. But there was like 8 hours of story leading up to that point, like emotional story.
Yeah.
So one of my youngest was down here when the box was delivered to a certain love interest of, I think, the person that was in the box, and they never show you, but it's an emotional.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was
like,
what's in the box?
I was
What's in the box? I kept saying that when I said
I
it, like,
paused
what's in
it
the
for a
box?
minute because you could still do the ATL and all that stuff. I paused it. I was like, I think I know what's happening. You need to look at me. Don't look at the screen. I think there's going to be a head in there. She's like, what? I was like, I think I know what's happening. And we didn't see it.
They never showed
but
it, it's fine. Yeah. It's like 7. Yeah, remember? Because I think they did the same thing in 7.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Remember,
Final
he
Fantasy
saw
7.
it.
You're talking about
The character saw
Genova's.
it, but he never.
Genova's
No.
head in the box.
No.
Yes.
We saw with the movie Seven, Morgan Freeman, because remember Brad Pitt was like,
Yeah.
like Brant said, Brad Pitt was like, "What's in the box? What's in the box?" And he was like, he wouldn't tell him. He's like, "Don't worry about that. We got to take this. We
Yep.
got to take down Kevin Spacey. More ways than one."
What's in
But,
that
um,
box?
And I
Yeah,
knew the whole
what's in the
time. I was
box?
like, I saw this cutscene like 8 hours ago, 10 hours ago. These two are tight.
Yeah.
There's going to be some issues here. And it
just
the way that they, it's not in your face novel. It's not an episode. It's not an hour episode of TV that takes your breath away. It's a lot of payoff. It's a lot of callbacks. It's a lot of deep setting. It is simple to follow. I say lore, but don't let that be intimidating. That's not intimidating to Cesar. And I think to a lesser extent, Brant. But I will get lost. I get lost in my own museum. I'm the Marcus Brody of lore.
But
and I'm
this one
able.
has this one has the
It
active
does.
lore system, which is
It's
pretty good.
amazing.
Yeah, it explains. It's like it's cliff notes. It's like, hey, this is what this person is, what they do. This is what they have to
And
do.
it
with you in the
updates
story.
the characters
Like,
all the time, not just Clive. It'll add
Yeah.
to the characters like so and so thought this was happening.
Where was this shit in Final Fantasy 13 where I'm like I don't even know what the fuck is going on in this game. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say other than I'm
13 again.
like, let's see. No, 13's making a comeback because like
13 again.
people on Twitter's like, now apologize to 13. But they said apologize to 13,
Okay,
bitch.
we're
You need a
over
remaster.
2 hours in. I know we have probably at least 4 hours left that we could talk about this game. Do y'all want to cut it off for this week and just continue some more thoughts next week? I know we'll be at various points unless somebody
No,
finishes or
It's
Yeah.
it's fine. Like I said, the only thing I'll add on there is like what y'all said about the story. It's
Yeah.
very politically heavy. It's not. It's very tough to make a game story. It's easy to understand,
but it's also emotional.
right.
There's a class
Yeah, which
system
makes
at play.
it-
There's friends at play. There's family at play.
But it's like you grow attached to a lot of people, even to some of the NPCs in certain towns. So it's like there's certain things that happen to them later on. You're like, oh fuck! Like there's like a red flag that still lingers in a certain character in this game, which I'm waiting for it to just
To
launch
pay off.
off.
Yeah. Oh,
There's a fucking red flag and everything.
speaking of NPCs,
And I'm like,
a lot of the times when you walk past them, they just talk to you. You don't have to stop and hit X to
Yeah.
see what random thing they say. You just hear them in the world. It adds to that living, breathing world that they just talk. You go through a restaurant or a bar or something, they're just talking. It's just like you hear this in the 3D audio. I was trying to wrap us up and I failed. Like the 3D audio and listening to it on the headphones, you hear the swoosh of the armor. You hear the sword and the scabbard. Like it's so immersive just putting you in this universe.
Well, I think where Brant's at, you're about to get to the second start of the second half of the game. Brant's going to change some things up. So they're going to add a
Yep.
They're going to add a character who
I know it's changed some things.
they're going to add a character who goes more into the political backgrounds. Like they kind of add that person in there, and it's like, oh, it goes more into like all this stuff that's happening with these nations and kind of breaks it down even more for it. Because the next part of the game where everything ramps up and they have that character there just to help you with the story, to help you follow it along and not get lost along the way in everything that's going on. And so, like I said, you haven't got to the part, Brent, where it's the fucking anime trope of every anime trope that happens in every anime. You would know it. They do it in this game. It's like, oh, it's the trope
They lean
that
heavy
put in
into
every
it.
anime to progress story. It's there. Yeah, it's there. It's the most anime fucking thing ever. Like it's there. If Brant's watched anime, he should know. It's like the thing that's commonly used
Amnesia.
in most.
Yeah,
animes.
I don't think I've
They-
gotten there.
They always do it to progress the story. In a
I mean,
different
they're
light.
taking the best of some of the best stories
See,
out there, right?
I just
Oh.
went and saw Martha again.
I like Martha as a character.
Yeah.
So
Brent, you'll text us all. Like, oh,
Did y'all
okay,
see
I
the
it. When you
scarecrows
get
in the
to it, you'll know
field?
it.
Did you go by the
It was a
scarecrows? It's a black
it was
mage.
like
It's
BB.
Vivi.
Yeah. I looked at it, I was like, this fucking BB. Yeah. I was like, this fucking BB on this bitch, man. I was like, but yeah, I'm waiting for Brant to text me. And it's like, oh, I see it. It's like, I didn't expect it to happen, and I haven't seen it done in a video game. but
This
I've seen it
game's
done in,
special.
like,
At
fucking
least,
anime.
what, a dozen hours in? You guys all recommend it still? Yeah. This
Oh,
game's
Oh, yeah,
special.
Yeah. I mean, when I played the game, those first couple hours are great, and then it kind of slows down, and then it slowly picks you back up. It's like the story's going. It's going like you're on the main mission, and I'm waiting for the discourse that everybody's bitching about. towards
That's the thing.
later
It's
half of
been
the game. I'm
it's
waiting
been
to see
hard,
it, but
especially with my kids wanting to run around and feed people. Like you go to Kenneth in the kitchen, he's like, I got 3 hot plates for people, but it's not just giving them plates and getting the X and coming back. Like they have something that they add to the story where you're like, okay, you came from here. Like they have actual backstory to them. But my kids are wanting to do these little side quests that they can run around and stuff, and they know how to get around the world map and things like that.
it's time to buy them that Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. So I had text Cesar about this brand. What's a good game where they can do like these basic fetch quests and run around and stuff like that? I'm thinking Kingdom Hearts is a good time. It's very simple. With the easy mode, maybe?
Put them back on Animal Crossing. Tom Nook.
No, not in that way. You know what I mean.
So with the villagers.
They feel like this is something special too. I think Dad, don't play without us, and the head part comes, and I'm like, you got to turn around. I don't know and now they're sending me to a dame and the ladies of the night, and I'm like, you got to go upstairs. I don't know where this is going. You have to go upstairs.
It's surprisingly there's some scenes with other female main characters on there that allude to stuff, but it's very surprisingly.
Well, I just met
PG. The most of the mature stuff is.
They hear that all the time. I just met Isabel from Animal Crossing, of course, and that's my next thing is like go see Isabel by the castle. Like she met me and put moves on me, and then I've got to go talk to her after that.
Yeah, aside from some of the cutscenes where you have like 2 characters naked in bed, but like nothing is shown.
It's very classically done. Yeah, it's like like I've looked at it's like how much they're going to show is very like
some scenes I'm ready to hit start like I don't know about that. But nothing's been like the prologue. Remember the 2 intimate encounters in the prologue, and I was like, Brant had warned me like, no, they can't watch this. So I do appreciate the heads up on that. The chocobos look so amazing. And then you go talk to them later in the day and they're like sleeping. Like there's 2 chocobos on the ground. I just want to pet Did y'all get the achievement for petting Torgal?
At the dog.
He is reassuring. This will be my last note, and y'all can talk about whatever, and we'll cut it off. He can be so reassuring, like all hell's breaking loose, or I don't know what's happening, or now I'm maybe seeing someone I don't know if I'm seeing, and I'll just pet the dog. I'll just turn around like, let me do this. It's like grounding. He's like every game I think should have a companion with me where I could like have this emotional support animal. It feels like he grounds you, and he's just always there with you.
Just wait until you get to the backstory for the dog.
Oh, there's more behind Torgal.
Tier.
I know there is. He came from one of the other territories, just like Jill did. I'm waiting for that shoe to drop. Yeah, thank you, Cesar. I know it's coming.
I mean,
all right, that's Final Fantasy 16. Yeah. We give it 16 Final Fantasies out of 16. If you have a PS5, buy this game. I have recommended to someone who does not have a PS5 to purchase this game and a PlayStation 5. I feel that strongly about it.
Have y'all's overheated like everybody else is claiming on Twitter?
Nope, not yet.
Yeah, I never had an issue with mine, but somebody had like put theirs in a fucking closet. They're like, mine's overheating. It's just shut down. I look, and it's like in a fucking server rack.
What? That's back to PS3 days.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm sitting there like they open up the cabinet. It's like a server rack. I'm like, why do you have it in there, man? I'm like,
in the refrigerator. It's like wait, is your server rack a Frigidaire? Why?
That shit looks hot, man. It has a fucking closed door and everything. I was like, why are you putting? It's like somebody was on Twitter. It's like that's like putting a sweater on your PS5. What the fuck is it in there for?
I mean, unless you're like reballing the heat sink from the 360 where you had to wrap it in the sweater and try to melt it back down. All right, let's get out of here, gentlemen. Thank you guys for joining us this week, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
See ya.
Adios.